And good morning. It is a Friday edition of GCR. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. And if it's a Friday, that means the Chief Grand Poobah here at Press Box.
A bar.
Not now. Not now.
Oh.
I'll need that. I promise you. I'll need that. Stan the Fan Charles is back in studio with us, as he is every Friday here on GCR.
Now?
Yeah,
Now?
Soon. I promise it's coming. But I appreciate that you're on your game early, Stan.
I just
Sharp. You got the coffee running through you. You're ready to go today.
I am ready.
We got a great show ahead for you today. Obviously, a lot of excitement after the Orioles finished off the sweep of the Red Sox. Some heroics last night on a night where, again, it looked like the Orioles offensively were kind of in a slumber, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere,
All of a sudden they weren't in a slumber.
bats just come crazy to life. Now that leads to tonight. What is, Griffin? This is our new favorite segment here on GCR. Stan?
Yeah.
Well, hang on, not this one yet. We'll get to that one.
A bar.
No, but I love where you're at. Our new favorite segment is I ask Griffin about the weather for the night's game, and instead he looks out the window and tells me what the weather is right now. And so to tell us what the weather is right now, here's Griffin looking out the window.
I think they could play right now. It's a little windy, but that's never stopped baseball.
Now, what about tonight?
Tonight, I mean, if it's like this, I think they play.
Okay, right, but is it going to be like this?
I don't think it's supposed to be.
What's it supposed to be like?
It's supposed to be windy, but the rain. I think there's like
Rain
maybe a
is
chance of
supposed
rain
to
around like 3 or 4, and then I think I will be there tonight, so I did check a little bit. I did check this.
You actually have
yeah,
interest
I did
this
check.
time, unlike every other time I ask when you just look out the window.
Griffin, I'm curious. That hat of yours looks like pretty spiffy.
Yeah.
Where'd you pay for that hat? That B?
This
It's
one,
the City Connect.
yes.
45?
No, I believe I got it at Dick's last year, and
it looks brand new. It
yeah,
looks
I
like
haven't worn it. I haven't worn it a ton yet
Okay.
because it's a nice
Do we know
hat. I
if
don't
they're
wanna-
wearing the City?
That's a good question. I was wondering that as well.
It is a
You
Friday
should wear
night,
them on
yeah.
Friday
Yeah.
night. I would think they would.
You would think. Of course, tonight being Jackson Holiday's home debut, they're doing the T-shirt giveaway. It's funny, we were talking about that the other night.
You know, I was talking to my cousin Ron about
Ron
that.
Matz.
They it seems like they responded very quickly. He says they knew he was going to debut at some point. They printed the T-shirts
Well,
2 months ago.
we had joked about the possibility that this really was the plan all along, and that they had perhaps printed the T-shirts and always knew it was going to be tonight, based on the PPI issue. But yeah, exciting day, obviously, in Baltimore. We will preview Orioles-Brewers a little bit later on. Our friend Ryan Spilborghs will be back with us. The Spilly Goat, of course, from MLB Network Radio. He will also be on the call tonight for Apple TV Plus, which for those of you like me, hi. Somebody asked me already this morning, you going to the game tonight? No, I got a great story to tell you. I have to go to an adult social at my kid's school this evening for a fundraiser. Really excited that I'm going to miss that tonight so that I can be at the adult social event at my kid's school. Really putting us smiling through it.
I'm glad you have a good attitude. Yeah.
Griffin is like your guy.
You think I could send Griffin to be the stand-in parent
to be you
tonight?
I mean, people don't really know
That's
that much
that's
about
a great
what you
point.
look like.
That's a great point. No one there has any clue what I do or anything along those lines. I could just pass Griffin along, and I could go to the baseball game.
How much would you charge to do that, Griff?
That well, the fact that I have tickets for the game, like it would. I think it would be.
Name your price, Griffin. Name it.
Yeah.
How long is this thing?
Do you like your
It's,
job?
do
you like your job, Griffin?
You enjoy it here? It starts at 6:45 and goes to 9.
Oh my goodness!
So you could squeeze in the last
like $500.
The really awkward part is I don't really even know how much I'm actually going to be asked to do there. Like it's not. This is not like when I do other events and I am truly the MC. This is more just like I've got to go over and do a couple of things.
Right.
But 1,000%, the Apple TV app will be up on my phone, and I will be distracted, and there will definitely be a time where I was supposed to do something, and I am not.
So you have Apple TV at home.
I will be signing back up for it today.
Okay, so as soon as you sign back up for it, you can get the app?
Yes,
okay.
Correct. So I'll be doing that, and Ryan Spilborghs will be on the broadcast tonight because tonight's game is, again, only on Apple TV. By the way,
Who does the play-by-play?
I think it's Alex Faust, from out in L.A., I believe is who's doing play-by-play tonight. Did you see that the game on Wednesday, which was not, like last night MLB Network produced their own broadcast on top of the massive broadcast. But on Wednesday, I believe they just carried the Nesson broadcast on MLB Network, was the second highest rated game ever on MLB Network.
Really?
Your reaction was the same as mine.
Tuesday night?
Wednesday. So it was Holliday's debut, so they had that going for them, but still maybe the Orioles becoming America's team.
Who was pitching that night?
Wednesday was not Corbin Burns. That was Cole Irvin. Yeah.
Cole Irvin.
Yeah, against Cutter. No, Cutter was Tuesday.
Got a huge following.
Is that what it is? It's the rabid,
like
rabid Cole Irvin fans. Yeah. A little bit later on this hour, we'll preview the Brewers. Obviously, a couple of former Orioles in the mix. We thought it was going to be a DL Hall tonight, but they had a rain out yesterday, so DL Hall will start tomorrow now. Freddie Peralta will start tonight for the Brewers. DL Hall starts tomorrow night. But we will catch up with Vinny Rottino, former super utility man for the Brewers, now a TV analyst for them. Also this morning, we're going to meet incoming Maryland basketball transfer Ja'Kobi Gillespie, who had an outstanding season a year ago at Belmont. This is not, I want you to know, this is not a Mike Tirico situation. This is not he doesn't want to talk to you.
He doesn't even know who I am.
Correct. This was just a scheduling thing where we actually had to catch up with him a little bit earlier on. But this was not I'm trying to avoid
chatting. Sound like a good kid?
Yeah,
I mean, not to give away the interview.
It's interesting because, there's only really one, actual connection with one of Maryland's assistants and his former AAU coach. But I think the Jameer Young factor is strong. He sees what Jameer Young was able to do at Maryland and says, this is the perfect spot for me to be. I think that was the big thing that stood out. But we'll hear from him a little bit later on today as well. All right, Stan, you ready?
We're also going to have... Don't we have Mr.
Are we doing?
Yes. We'll talk to him.
So Tom Strickler is going to join us before the end of the show. We'll talk a little bit more about.
And who's he with again now?
He is with the national, Steve Keller National Recruiting Reports.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Old friend and really good content guy.
So today we need to update the man of the match. That's brought to you by Atman's Deli, Stan, where it's everything you love. The new Atman's Deli in Harbor Point is everything you love about the original Atman's Deli, but also
a bar.
That's correct.
I knew I'd get it right.
You get it right one of these times. No, look, man. There are some sponsors that we have that it feels like you're reading off of a sheet. I have never read off a sheet once when talking about the new Atman's Deli because I don't need to. Like everyone else in this town, Atman's Deli has been a part of my life for a very long time. It is part of the fabric of our community, frankly. And there's only a handful of food institutions that I would feel that way about. But Atman's Deli is very much Baltimore's deli. And the corned beef piled high. And it's not just the corned beef. All of the deli sandwiches, the turkey, every single one of their deli sandwiches is just delicious. And then you add on to that the soups. The desserts.
Hot dogs.
Yeah, that's a great call, Stan. And I believe they do a hot dog. They have a lot of daily specials throughout the week.
The bologna
I believe one of those. I got to pull this up. Sorry. Give me 1 second here. Because I want to make sure I remind everybody about this. Because there is a day during the week where they have a special with the hot dog and bologna. And if I would encourage you to get there on one particular day, it would probably be that day. That day is Wednesdays. On Wednesdays, $5 for the hot dog with the bologna.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Plus, in the bar, they do free appetizers before every baseball game. So if you're stopping by before a game, you can get free apps while you hang out in that bar that Stan's always raving about for good reason.
Like the Apple Plus app?
I don't think it's that type of app. I think it's the appetizers.
You mean appetizers.
I understand the confusion. Don't get me wrong. Man,
you could also just go there and watch a game.
100%.
And eat appetizers and then that hot dog on Wednesdays.
Look, it's Atman's Deli, and it's brand new in Harbor Point, and if you haven't been there yet, you need to go. atmansdeli.com is the website. So, man of the match last night, Griffin was insistent that we just put up a picture of a cow. We're not just going to do that.
That's what he is.
We are going to put up Colton Cowser's picture for man of the match last night. 2 home runs for Colton Cowser. Look, man, we're just at the point where I am not writing off Austin Hayes. I am not saying that Austin Hayes is no longer relevant or that it's time to DFA him or anything along those lines. But Colton Cowser is going to keep playing essentially every day.
At least against right-handed
Correct.
pitching right now.
Colton
No
Cowser is, that's a great point. Tomorrow night against DL Hall, that's a different story. But Colton Cowser is feasting at the moment. And
Austin can also play like against tough left-handers. If Cowser's hitting left-handers, maybe you play him in center field.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Brandon Hyde will find a way to get him, and the important thing is that he stays ready, because there will come a time. It could be a Santander injury, and all of a sudden he gets plugged into right field for 2-3 weeks. There will come a time where he will have an opportunity. He has to stay ready, and that's a difficult process to go through mentally, from being the man, who had his best season. He was an all-star a year ago, and now because of 10 bad games,
Yes, this is the spot that he finds himself in. 100%.
By the way, I'm planning to start a new career.
Oh?
Yeah. I'm going back to school, and I'm going to learn Japanese.
Oh, so you can be the new interpreter.
I want to be an interpreter for somebody, What's his face? How the hell did the interpreter get a hold of $16 million?
It is. I am still struggling with every element of the story. Yeah. I am really still struggling with all of it.
That makes no sense.
What about the guy in Boston? Could you be his interpreter? What's his? I've already forgotten what his Yoshida. Thank you. Could you be Yoshida's interpreter?
No, I had him on my fantasy team last year.
That's too personal.
You know what I call him? Mr. Soft Contact. Everything he hits is soft. That may have single-handedly cost Chaim Bloom his job there. They gave him $75 million.
Wow, I hadn't thought about that. A couple of things that stood out for me from last night. Look, I know the Orioles' defense was not great this week. It was not overwhelming, but my God, Boston's defense. Like, my word.
Yeah,
I've never heard of half of the guys on their team right now.
Like Hamilton?
Yeah, like Hamilton, and I guess Rafaela was there last year.
And Rafaela, they clearly think a lot of.
Yes.
They're clearly quite high on
They extended him this week.
Who was playing second? Like, their whole infield is, I guess, I know Devers is hurt.
It's a mess. Look, they were supposed to have Trevor Story and Vaughn Grissom, playing second and short. Story at short, Grissom at second. That's a mess out there, really. Terrible.
So their defense, brutal, and obviously played a huge part. The awkwardness of, for those of us, obviously that were watching on Masson last night, them cutting away in the 8th inning and then coming right back to, hey, by the way, funny thing.
Yeah.
Game's still going on.
I had written it in
on your score sheet.
Yeah, that they had grounded into a double play.
Yeah.
Maybe I hadn't. Maybe I hadn't done that quickly.
Well,
it was in the
8th
inning.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. I had a 4-6-3 double play.
Yep.
Circled the double play. Had to rechange everything when I got back.
Well, we all thought that was the case, and as it turns out, it was not. And obviously, Danny Coulomb.
It was very odd. Am I right? They went to a commercial.
Yes.
Then there was like 1 second of seeing Jackson Holliday. Went back to the commercial.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
I saw that too. It was
like they were trying to dump out of it to get back.
Yeah, but they must have gone, well, it's going to be a little
because there was a pitching change, right?
Yeah. So they cut to Holliday just staying on second base, and then Cora was walking out to make the pitching change. That was the last thing that.
Maybe because I'm on the app. Maybe they didn't get that. It was only on TV and not on the app. I don't know, but. Yeah, and then all of a sudden they're back for a split second, and there's Anthony Santander parking a Fenway special down the right field line in order to put the Orioles in front. Danny Coulomb, his first blemish of the season, as he gives up a long home run. Pretty good pitch that just
that guy's a pain in the ass.
Really is a pain in the ass.
Tough out.
And the Red Sox throw the entire kitchen sink at the Orioles in desperate hopes of winning that game and trying to avoid the sweep, right? Like they empty the bench to the point where they got nothing. I mean, Connor Wong's playing second base, which, as you saw in the 10th inning, was not something that they really wanted to have him doing. I didn't realize he had actually played a couple of games at second base before.
I'd forgotten that, too.
But not much. I mean, like 6 total games, I think, in his life at second base. And, the Orioles bats finally really come to life there in the 10th inning. And Colton Cowser, obviously, Gunnar Henderson with a big home run, Colton Cowser with another home run. And this was a heck of a week. It was a heck of a week in which you would say, I don't even know that they played their best baseball and yet ended up going on the road to a division rival and getting a sweep.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things, like the lineup is still kind of grinding, kind of a lot of guys. Adley Rutschman's struggling. Gunnar Henderson had been struggling. Jackson Holliday clearly over his first couple of games is struggling. And yet they're figuring out ways to win. And it helps that you're getting, Corbin Burns was dominant again the other night or the other afternoon. Grayson Rodriguez wasn't dominant last night, but as you and I talked about before the game, if that's his low end, my God.
Yeah.
Like, if that's his low end.
Yeah, he was very good last night.
Correct.
He's definitely been a different pitcher since he came back up last year.
And the good news is Dean Kramer's looked pretty good so far.
I think he's looked excellent.
Yeah. So if you can continue that, Cole Irvin has not looked good, and
I thought his stats the other night, Wednesday night, are a little misleading. I thought he admitted that he shook off Adley Rutschman on the pitch to Wong.
Okay.
That he shot to right field. He said, I should have probably just not shaken him off and gone with what he wanted to throw. He's going to give up home runs occasionally, but I thought that I liked the movement he had on the ball the other night and the velocity he had the other night. I still think we'll get some good things out of him.
Obviously I hope you're right. I don't think they really have a choice at the moment. I think he's going to have to stay in there at least through the end of April before I don't know exactly.
Who's this guy that they acquired yesterday?
The guy from the Mets.
Rodriguez?
No,
Rodriguez?
I thought it was.
Johan.
Hang on.
Was it Angels?
No.
We claimed somebody from the Angels.
No,
There was. It is Johan Ramirez. I'm putting two guys together. Yes, Johan Ramirez is the guy that they claimed from the Mets. Yes,
So
Johan Ramirez is the guy they claimed from the Mets. The guy they claimed from the Angels is Levon Soto. Yes,
who we had back in
Correct.
February or something.
Correct.
Like that. Yeah.
So, obviously neither one of those are guys that you're putting at the major league level right now, but, add to what the options would be down the road.
Right.
Did Cade Povich make another start? Obviously his first two were very good.
He's looked pretty good.
He's been like the only arm at Norfolk that's looked, but he's looked very good. I don't know if he had a third start yet. If he did, then maybe I reserve the right to change my mind about how good he's looked. But I don't think that they are considering anything else until the end of April. Yeah. And then at that point, it's where is John Means?
They can make that trade for Shane Bieber.
That's the day.
Yeah.
Right.
Ooh, I can't wait.
Boy. It's funny that that's the way that we think about these things, by the way. Like the context that we have from when you get news like Shane Bieber is, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
That guy could have been ours.
Still might be next year.
Maybe next year, right? But not going to happen in July. That's not going to be the case.
By the way, we we poked a little fun at Tony Kemp.
But, I thought
but boy, that
was
tweet
incredibly
he sent
classy,
was
unbelievably
really
classy. I mean, just an absolute.
Do you have it? Can
sure,
you
I can pull it up 100%.
I thought it was just really. I was very touched by that.
I thought it was incredible. I think it gives you a reflection of someone at a point in his life that understands that, like, every day I get to do this, I'm very lucky. I hadn't seen the tweet that he had sent out before that, so I'll follow up that thought. The tweet that you're referring to, Tony Kemp said, in the fall of 2010, our college had a series against the Longhorns for a 3-game set. Our hitting coach at the time was Josh Holliday, who was a guest on the show yesterday, and his brother Matt brought his kid to our early practice. I remember watching his son, Jackson Holliday, with a sweet lefty swing. Go get him, kid. Very, very sweet, very, very thoughtful, incredibly classy.
Yep.
The tweet that he had sent on opening day was some pictures of him and his family and him running down the orange carpet and all that, and said, one of 780 in the world, 6% are black players on opening day MLB rosters. Beyond thankful to make a 6th big league opening day with an incredible team in my closest circle around. Obviously a very thoughtful individual, Tony Kemp, and someone that we didn't get much of a chance to get to know here in Baltimore. And
Any shot we could reach out to him sometime, some way?
Yeah, we could try to reach out to him. We'll try to work on. I'll try to work on that. Absolutely.
And I don't mean necessarily it has to be on a Friday.
No, but I'd be happy to try to see if we can't track down Tony Kemp. And you're right. I never wanted it to come off as personal what we were saying about Tony Kemp.
No.
At no world do I think we were saying Tony Kemp's garbage or Tony Kemp. It's just that there was never really any justification for a team that's trying to win a World Series to have Tony Kemp on the roster. Like that was the difficult part about this.
Right. It's hard to see what he brought in their minds. Now maybe Colton Wong wouldn't go along with it, because I have a feeling Elias was pretty upfront with Kemp, saying we don't know if this is going to be 2 weeks or 4 weeks, or we don't know what injuries will occur. But I just didn't understand what Kemp brought that keeping Colton Wong around for 2 weeks wouldn't have. I know there's a speed factor.
Right. To your point, it might very well have been our plan was Colton Wong. He said, nah, I'm good. And so we just needed a placeholder for Colton Wong for a couple of weeks until.
You mean for Jackson Holliday?
Right. But we thought that placeholder was going to be Colton Wong. So it's like you needed a placeholder at that point. Right. This was our plan.
Yep.
Didn't happen, so now we just need someone else to be the placeholder. It might very well be that the entire time. And it might be part of the reason why Tony Kemp was able to be so classy is that they kind of told him at the beginning, look, man, we're being as honest as we can with you. This is probably going to be don't buy. Like, do not buy. In fact, I wouldn't even bother renting. Just stay in a hotel for a couple of weeks, and we'll be happy to have you, and we'll put in a nice reference for you wherever you want to be next. Yeah. It's totally possible that in hindsight they were honest with him too, or said it's more likely that will be the scenario here because you never know exactly how things are going to go.
Makes me hope that he gets a shot.
100%.
I mean, he's in shape, and
Look, it's ironically right. The last thing we saw of Tony Kemp was him making that really nice play, and sure enough, the defense has been a little shaky to start with Jackson Holliday playing at second base. It's been. I don't think it's that he can't play the position or that he's, in over his skis.
Everything's different. Everything is different. The footwork is different because you're coming from different, like that play that he made where he bobbled the ball and then
grabbed it with a bare hand
and threw. That's a very different. It seems like it's easy, but he's been playing on the other side. He's used to what he has to do footwork wise to get in shape. He's probably thinking, what's my footwork like? And it looked like the footwork on that play was a little off.
Like caught in a mid-step.
Yeah.
I had to go back and look at it again because I didn't catch that at first, but you're probably right about that, Stan. And again, I don't think it's oh boy, this is going to be a mess type of situation. I think it's an adjustment.
Yeah.
I think it's still part of the story with Jackson Holliday moving forward.
And I think for a little while now, his teammates have to pick up on the fact that pop-up thing, he's not on that side of the field. He's not there yet. And maybe now Santander, you look on that play.
He had no idea where the ball was.
He had no idea where the ball was. So not his fault, but maybe first baseman could have, Ryan could have made the play.
100% agreed on all accounts. I'm not. There will be a time where we'll revisit this. If there continue to be issues for the next couple of weeks, then the Orioles might have to think about what it is they're doing defensively in the infield. Yep. But I think that they likely understood there's still going to be a few growing pains, and we're willing to live with a few growing pains because we think that ultimately it's going to pay off. That when we have this conversation again in the midsummer, we're going to be talking about a completely different player, and so we're willing to deal with that for right now. And I said this yesterday. I do think it is a big deal that they have won these games for just someone's mentality as they adjust the major league level, sitting on, hey, mistakes that I've made may have cost this team a game or 2 games. I think that can get after you a little bit. The fact that this team was able to pick Jackson Holliday up and win these 2 games despite some of the issues that he's dealt with, I think goes a long way with helping him not feel sort of overwhelmed by all of it.
Right, because he's not stressing is the wrong word. I think he's handling things fine. It would be great if he can get that first hit
no question.
Out of the frickin' way.
Right. Just get that. Don't carry that any longer. And
maybe it needs to be a bunt.
I mean, look, man.
He is fast.
He is really the ground ball
He's
to.
faster than I am.
Really? Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right, we'll arrange a race and we'll see if that's true. I'm not willing to just make a statement like that.
I'm deceptively quick.
The ground ball to second base the other night in the first game,
right?
Where it's just a routine ground ball,
right?
By like a half step,
right?
By a half step.
Right.
I don't think he's Bobby Witt fast, but I don't think he's that far off of Bobby Witt fast, where you don't see it coming. You have no idea truly how fast he is.
Not as fast as Witt.
Right, but you might be close
to
Jackson Holliday. Not quite. Bobby Witt obviously a step beyond, but you and Jackson Holliday, that would be it'd be a more competitive.
Take Matt Holliday, I'll tell you that.
All right, we'll have to make it happen. Griffin, get on the phone. Right. Make it happen. Stan versus Matt Holliday, the eternal showdown that everyone has been waiting for. Fun weekend, obviously, not only Jackson Holliday's debut, but as we mentioned, D.L. Hall's back and pitching tomorrow night. Joey Ortiz is back, and on the flip side, Corbin Burns on Sunday gets his first opportunity to face his former team at Camden Yards. So a lot of storylines this weekend. Normally an Orioles-Brewers series would not involve a whole lot. Not a lot of history, not a lot of this is about as electric as it can get for an Orioles-Brewers series this weekend in Baltimore.
Was that 1982?
The final weekend of the year. Yeah. That's about the extent of the history.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not. How many hang on a second. How many guys even fit the Orioles-Brewers spot on the grid?
Oh, jeez.
Jonathan Scope.
Scope did go in. Well, now D.L. Hall and
Severino.
Oh, right. Pedro Severino is a good one. Did David Segui end up playing for the Brewers at one point? Do I have a vague?
I think so. I think he played Seattle.
Montreal for sure. Seattle.
Montreal, the Mets, Seattle. I don't think he was a Brewer.
All right. Well, I'm glad I didn't guess that on the grid then. That would have felt very silly if that was the case. You are correct.
I'm correct,
Montreal, the Mets, the Mariners, the Rangers, the Indians, and the Blue Jays. Boy, it ended up being a lot of stops for David Segui. Ended up being a whole bunch of them. Didn't the Orioles try to bring in Ben Sheets at one point? Do I remember there being a moment where
there was
like they were going to bring him in on like a minor league deal or something like that at the end?
I don't remember. Well, he was a good pitcher when he was healthy.
He was a heck of a pitcher when he was healthy. There's no question about that.
Shane Bieber.
When he's healthy, he'd be a great pitcher to have. Unfortunately,
how old is Ben Sheets now? Probably only 38.
You think maybe you could give him a call up and see
he's
where
45.
He's 45.
Wow. Jamie Moore could probably still pitch, so, you know.
Hang
on a second. I want to know if there was a story between Ben Sheets. I swear to God, I feel like there was a story where the Orioles were going to try to sign Ben Sheets. All right, I can't find it. Maybe I'm making it up. Maybe it's David Segui being a Brewer, and I'm 0 for a million today, and I'm not going to be able to hit on any single one of them. We're going to talk Brewers in just 1 second. Today's show is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. It's a proud sponsor of County Sports Zone. CountySports.zone is the website. Everything you need to know about high school sports here in the state of Maryland. Spring sports schedules, scores, rankings. You can play pick'em. Boys and girls lacrosse, baseball, softball, all of it can be found right now at countysports.zone, which is proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. All right, as we mentioned, Orioles-Brewers this weekend as the Orioles return back home for Jackson Holliday's Baltimore debut this evening. Open up a 3-game set as the Orioles will try to keep things rolling after sweeping the Red Sox this week in Boston. Joining us now to preview the Brewers, he is a former super utility man in Milwaukee, now a TV color analyst. He is Mr. Vinny Rottino, and he joins us now here on GCR. Vinny, it's Glenn and Stan the Fan Charles here in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Of course, guys. Anytime. How you guys doing?
Everything is good here. And a little bit, we were just joking, not a whole lot of history between the Orioles and Brewers. Probably about as much juice as there's ever been, or at least since the end of the 1982 season for an Orioles-Brewers series.
Yeah, no doubt. And we were just talking about it last night as the crew came into town the last time. Well, the Brewers came in for I believe the Orioles opening day 2 years ago. But before that, it had been like a couple of decades since the Brewers were in Baltimore to play at Camden Yards. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun series for sure. A couple of young ball clubs that are going to be gunning for each other right here.
Let's talk on the flip side. We're going to see DL Hall obviously tomorrow night back in Baltimore. And I would tell you, Vinny, I think everybody in Baltimore believes in DL Hall being a talented live arm. It felt to us like a talented live arm that was really just destined to be a late inning, perhaps dominant specialist. The Brewers acquire DL Hall, try to make it work in the rotation. What have you seen early on from DL Hall? Do you feel like there really is still something that can be scratched there with him as a starting pitcher?
I do think there is. So after I got done playing, I was a former. I was a scout for the Texas Rangers for 4 years. So as I'm looking at these players that are acquired by the Brewers, a lot of savvy acquisitions, just like Mike Elias is doing with the Baltimore Orioles, trying to build a sustainable winner. I'm looking at these guys, and DL Hall is one of them. That you kind of look at the delivery and like, okay, that looks like a starter. How he moves down the hill. It's actually it looks a little bit like a left-handed version of Freddie Peralta, who you guys will see tonight, told the rubber for the Brewers as a starter. But it's just the way that he does it. It's very loose. It's easy. It's free. Now, the strikes were a concern last year, right, in Baltimore. So that was the reason why they moved him to the pen. He kind of really excelled in that role last year in the playoffs, faced 12 Texas Rangers in the playoffs, punched out 6 of them, right, in the late inning work. The velocity was in the 97, 98 range, and that's why he's able to do it. As a starter, you're wondering, okay, can he sustain that kind of velocity? So far, guys, he hasn't been able to do that as a starter for the Brewers. Now, it's early. It's April. So a warm weather guy down in Valdosta, Georgia. So, I mean, perhaps we'll see his velocity tick up. And the Brewers are confident that it will. When you talk to the pitching coach, Chris Hook, he says, look, this kid is going to figure it out. He's going to sync up the delivery. It's in there. They love the fact that this kid has been throwing strikes. He's been throwing strikes with multiple pitches so far out of the rotation, 2 times through. So we're excited to see what he can do here through the rest of April, through the rest of the season out of the rotation.
Vinny, just sticking with this for a moment with DL Hall, where do the Brewers feel he's ever going to be able to ramp up his innings, or is this a new generation of starters that all we need out of them is 105, 110 innings? He's never pitched more than in his professional career, the most innings he's ever pitched, 94 innings.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a really good point. Remember, he did battle a couple of injuries early on in his development as a young minor leaguer, as a high school draft. He was drafted in 2017, first rounder. So yes, that is something that he needs to answer those questions. And there's a lot of pitchers that do answer those questions as they are getting the opportunity to start, and DL Hall is being given that opportunity. The Brewers have full confidence and full faith that he will be able to do it. Now they're going to take it slow. They're going to not kind of push him into outings. But this kid is as competitive as I've ever seen a young kid, wanting to stay in games, wanting to get that pitch count up. But they are going to be careful with him. He has had some history of some arm injury, and then last year he had a back injury as well. That's why he started out in the minor leagues last year in Norfolk with you guys. So they're going to take him slow, and they're going to have him answer those questions. But it is certainly a concern, the lack of innings over the course of his career. I think, too, it's partly both, right? So that is the new wave of what's going to happen, I think, with starting pitching. There's guys that go 150 innings now. Is like, oh, great, you had a great year. Where, 20 years ago, that'd be not a good year. So I think it's part both, and I do think they're going to hopefully get him into that 150 range.
Vinny Rottino is with us for previewing Orioles-Brewers this weekend here in Baltimore. Vinny, of course, the other part of that trade was Joey Ortiz, and someone, again, who I think all of us were very high on. We truly, from a defensive standpoint, might have been the best of all of the infield prospects the Orioles had, and certainly not a zero as a hitter. I know he's been hitting a little bit. How's the adjustment to third base been for him, obviously with Willy Adames playing at short?
He's made a couple of errors, but one of them was when Ellie De La Cruz was running, and he is quite arguably could probably
fastest
return
man alive,
for
right?
the Cincinnati Bengals and play baseball for the Reds at the same time. So one was there, but I also saw one of the best plays I've probably seen in my entire life, and like I said, I've been watching baseball, playing baseball for the last 2 decades at the professional level, and he comes in on a ball. You think he's going to barehand it, and it's a glove to hand transfer faster than I think I've ever seen, and he gets the guy out in a bases loaded situation. It was an unbelievable play. So the defense, you're not concerned about the couple of errors that he's made at this point at all. Like you actually want him on the field, certainly late in games. The defense is elite. The bat, kid can hit a little bit, right? I mean, he's a smaller guy, 5'9", 183. He can pop a home run. He's proved to do that in the minor leagues last year. A couple of years, he's kind of ramped up the power production from the right side of the plate. You do worry a little bit about the splits, the right left-handed splits, but I think he's a ball player. He's instinctual. I think he'll figure out a way to get on base, have quality at bats, hit the ball the other way, and have a plan against righties. He certainly will play against lefties. He's proven that he's been able to do that in the minor league level. The Brewers are very high on him, and he was a huge reason why they ended up, pushing the okay button on that deal for Corbin Burns. And so I think Joey Ortiz is a very nice addition to this team, and he rounds out just kind of the completeness of this Brewers team. Look a lot like your Baltimore Orioles club. I'm doing my homework right now on the club. Young, with a good bullpen and some starting pitching questions, maybe with one guy at the top. So Joey Ortiz is going to be a very big part of the defense that, like I said, the Orioles seem to have a very elite defense as well. Joey Ortiz is going to be a big part of the Brewers side of things on that front.
Vinny, there are very few difference makers in the manager's seat, and when we had Buck Showalter here, I thought Buck Showalter was one of those people that are game changers, Craig Counsell certainly fits in that position as a guy who is a difference maker as a manager. Tell us a little bit about the new manager, Pat Murphy. What's the early reports on him? Do the players like him? Does he not even give a crap about whether they like him or not? Tell us a little bit about Murphy.
Well, he is, first of all, the players do love him, and I do think he cares very, very much about whether or not the players do like playing for him. I think the relationship piece to what Pat Murphy has been able to build as a career in baseball the last 40 years. Started coaching in 1983 in the college ranks, and we all know his story going through Notre Dame. He was Craig Counsell's coach at Notre Dame. Then he went to ASU. He was a legendary coach in the Division I ranks and at Arizona State University, and then he got into pro ball. He's been Craig Counsell's bench coach for the last 8 years, and now he's getting his opportunity to lead this Brewers club. And it is all about the relationships for Pat Murphy, and it's a balancing act too, right? So you don't want to be too buddy with these guys, but then you also want to be able to hold them accountable, and he does do that. He has a very good way about how he does that, and he's honed that skill again for the last 40 years. It's very difficult to do. I played for managers who were bad at both at times, right? And you have to find and be able to thread that needle to be able to be both a player's manager, but also a guy that really motivates players to do their best and play to win. And again, and hold players accountable. So it's not just, willy nilly. It's too loose almost. Well, he does a good job of keeping it loose, but then also tight at times. And so players love playing for him so far, so good. I mean, the Brewers are 8-3, and there's a vibe around this team that they love playing for Pat Murphy, and they love playing hard. and playing for each other. I think that is created by Pat. I really do. I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I knew Pat would be totally fine and do a great job just from knowing him over the years. But I didn't know that this team would already have an identity and already be playing to win this early and this hard. So it's fun to watch, and I think that's going to just grow. I mean, winning helps that, of course. You guys see it. You guys got a great vibe over here with Brandon Hyde. I had Brandon Hyde in the minor leagues. Phenomenal.
That's
very
cool.
Similar approach to things. Yeah. So winning does help with that as well. So hopefully they keep winning and that vibe continues.
So, Vinny, it's funny you bring this up, right? Because I think a lot of people were confused from the Brewers side of the Corbin Burnes trade. And we liked both the pieces the Orioles gave up. And the point that you made about it making it maybe more of a complete team is really interesting to me because I think that it felt like mixed messaging going out and getting Rhys Hoskins and then trading away Corbin Burnes. But you look at this roster with all of this young talent, and, of course, Jackson Chourio stands out with that, but Sal Frelick, too. I don't know. I would guess that you would say this 8-3 start probably isn't a fluke, but it's more a pretty well-built team, and especially given that this is the NL Central where it doesn't seem like anybody else is going to be racing out. The Brewers have as good of a chance as anyone to win the division, correct?
That's correct. And the way that the Brewers are going to be able to sustain success is to make deals like this. And that's just, fans don't love to hear that, but it is the reality of the situation in Milwaukee. They have the lowest TV revenue deal in all of baseball, lower than everybody. It's literally the lowest.
Despite the fact that they have Vinny Rottino? What the hell?
Well, we're building now, yeah. That's great. That's a great point. I'm going to bring that up.
Can you imagine what it would be without Vinny?
Yeah, if they didn't have Vinny, my God,
they would make nothing.
You might be buying time on television at that point.
Very good point. Very, very good point. Okay. So this is the way that the Brewers are going to have to sustain success. They're going to have to take guys like Corbin Burnes with 1 year left on their deal who is not going to sign an extension one and who's not going to sign back with the team. So you have to get something for him. And so in trading away a Corbin Burnes, they get a DL Hall, and then they get Joey Ortiz. And then remember, they get the 34th pick
they get
in the
that
draft this year.
Bouncer,
It's a huge deal, right? Because they've continued to stockpile trade capital, and that's what really teams see prospects as at this point, trade capital to be able to add to their major league team. And maybe you hit on a couple of those guys, and those are the guys that you do keep. You see that all the time with your club, right? So you guys have a ton of trade capital, and DL Hall and Joey Ortiz were two of those guys, and then you kept names out of that deal for sure that you did not want to part with. And so that's the same approach that the Brewers are doing. And that's how you sustain success over the long term. You guys are going to be good, really, really good for years to come. It's going to be fun for the fans. The Brewers the same way, because they have all these young, talented players. They lock up a Jackson Chourio, and they do just like the Orioles. They kind of figure out some ways to get innings from their starting pitching, and then they enhance something from a bullpen guy, and all of a sudden you have one of the better staffs in all the league, and you have a great defense behind them. So these pitchers, it is like pitchers develop better with a great defense behind them, right? So I think it's a very cool model. It's fun to watch, and quite frankly, I'm okay with it because I don't want to see 100-loss, Brewers early 2000s, late 90s ever again. Really, it's hard to get through those seasons. You guys know that, right? So I like the approach, and I think it's going to work. And I do think they have a real good shot at winning this NL Central. It's actually a lot more competitive than people are giving it credit for, and I think people are going to start realizing that here in the next couple of months.
It is going to be a tremendous battle in that division. Vinny, just curious, the Brewers, in my opinion, I mean, going back, they had high-priced players at the time, and Robin Yount and Paul Molitor, and they paid what the going rates were when Bud Selig was there. But they've taken two big contracts, were Ryan Braun and Christian Yelich. And wouldn't you say that that what they paid for was totally not the players that they gave the contracts to? How are they? Are they gun shy about giving a couple big contracts in the future now?
Good question. Really good question. I do think that if you are going to pull the trigger on one of those deals, you have to be right. And you probably, if you're a Milwaukee Brewers team, you can only afford to do one of them. Now, Christian Yelich is showing signs of being that player that he used to be. So that would be a huge shot in the arm to this ball club. So I do think, just for the fact that you can't afford to miss, if you're a Milwaukee Brewer front office, you cannot afford to miss on those big deals, those big dollar deals. And so the fact that I definitely think that they are gun shy in handing out a $250 million deal ever again. Anything over 200, I really do. And if they are going to do it, it's got to be a guy that you 100% believe is going to live out the life of that deal. So
I can't. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm jumping on top of you there.
No, that's it. No, that's all I had to say about that.
I can't imagine how tough that injury that Yelich had, which was what, a broken kneecap. That's deprived us of one of the really great talents in the game.
Yeah.
He was I mean, look at the years that he put up in 2018 and 2019. Those are Hall of Fame type numbers. And then he broke his kneecap. I mean, I remember as a scout watching him. I was in Wrigley. He's facing Craig Kimbrell at the height of his prowess in the back end of and he'd get one pitch in at bat, and it was in the whole series because he had no protection in the lineup, and it was a strike from slider from Kimbrell, nasty one. And he hits it out to center field. I mean, that was the kind of production and the kind of threat that he was in the lineup at that time. Again, he's showing signs of coming out of it, but that kneecap definitely hurt his trajectory, and then he's also battled some back injuries last couple of seasons as well. I also think he wears it on his sleeve when he struggles as well. So he's a very he wants to win very bad. He wants to win for his teammates. So when he was struggling, it compounded on him. He really took it personally. I think he's learning to not do that so much anymore, and he's got that timing back. And so hopefully it's about 4 home runs against you guys in these next 3 days.
Yeah, we're hoping the opposite of that,
I
obviously.
hope he hits them when they leave town. Yeah.
Vinny, and I know we kept you up, but we have to ask you something about Corbin Burnes, obviously. Like, he's been somehow maybe even better than advertised to start things off for his time in Baltimore. It's just so unreal. We were talking about it the other night. It's almost like he's an artist. Like, he caught on that the strike zone was like 2 inches lower than we thought it was the other day, and then just painted it for the rest of the afternoon in Boston. It is like watching an orchestra conductor. But I wonder more than that, like, what we're seeing the impact of from Corbin Burnes and how it could change, even in 1 year, maybe the trajectory of Grayson Rodriguez being around that guy. Can you tell us a little bit more about, beyond just his own greatness, what maybe he did for the other pitchers in the Brewers rotation, and really everything about the team and their belief and their confidence because he was at the top of the rotation?
Yeah, he does a number of things for your rotation, some intangible things that you kind of alluded to there. But the biggest thing is, like, he almost gives you the whole team a sense of, okay, we're probably going to win today because Corbin's taken the mound. He's just that stabilizing to a rotation, to have him throw every 5th day. And didn't he, and I have a question for you guys actually real quick, didn't he bump up? He basically went on regular reps, and then everybody else got bumped back.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's so that he is allowed to and really wants to get to probably 200 innings for sure for the 3rd year. Well, no, he was 193 last year, but at least 30 starts for the 3rd year in a row, which is crazy to think that is something that is almost unattainable now for a lot of starters. And he is one of the strongest, pound for pound, like, strongest guys that you will see. And so he should be able to do that. It's a simple delivery. It's got that short arm action, so that, there's not a whole lot that can go wrong with that delivery. And so it's just so simple and compact, and he's able to do that because he is such a good athlete and so strong. So you're expecting him to start at least 30 games and maybe get to 200 innings again. But yes, it is his way that he goes about his work in between starts that is going to be an example for the rest of your rotation, even your relievers, of watching him play catch. I watched it every day the last 3 years of how he went about his work. He's very meticulous about it. If something small goes wrong in his delivery, he will work at it until he can figure it out if something doesn't feel right. Now, what makes him great also kind of makes him struggle a little bit. And I did see him tinker too much last year a little bit. He actually struggled a little bit in July and August, but that's also what makes him great. And I think the rest of your staff is going to take note of that. And I think anytime you can get guys, especially pitchers, because we all know how finicky, and I would use the word weird a little bit at times. They can be. That if you can get those guys on a great routine with great work in between starts, it's going to benefit that group on your team. And so Burns is going to impact that club in a number of different ways.
Vinny Rottino, great stuff, man. Really enjoyed the conversation. At Vinny Rottino on Twitter is how you follow him. Enjoy the weekend, and thanks so much for doing this.
Anytime, guys. Yeah, for sure. Go Brewers.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. But thank you, Vinny. Vinny Rottino with us here on GCR.
Snuck that in.
Yeah,
there.
jerk. Yeah, we're not feeling that whatsoever. But, yeah, he was great. That was a tremendous insight ahead of Orioles-Brewers this weekend. We are winding down here in hour number 1 of today's program. Today's show has also been brought to you by Ruth's Chris. You can just hear the sizzle of the plate whenever you hear the That's perfect, Stan. Ruth's Chris, whether you're just enjoying a night out, maybe a date night, something that's overdue, whether you're entertaining clients, whether you're celebrating a particular milestone, the best place to do it is at Ruth's Chris. Count on them to deliver to you the finest steaks, the best service, and a level of hospitality that has made them one of the most revered names in steaks since 1965. Make your reservation now at ruthschris.com. Coming up, we're going to chat with Ja'Kobi Gillespie, incoming Maryland basketball transfer. That's on the way as we continue along. Stan the Fan is here on a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Hartford Community College will host the National Junior College Athletic Association's 2024 Men's Lacrosse National Championship and Women's Lacrosse Invitational on May 11th and 12th at Hartford Sports Complex, 401 Thomas Run Road in Bel Air, Maryland. The semifinals on May 11th include the Women's Invitational, with the Women's North A representative playing the Mid-Atlantic B representative at 10 a.m., and the Women's North B representative facing off against the Mid-Atlantic A representative at 12:30 p.m. For the men's championship, the number 1 seed will play the lowest remaining seed in the quarterfinal round at 3:30 p.m. The men's number 2 seed will face off against the highest remaining seed at 6 p.m. May 12th is reserved for the national championship games at noon for the women and 4 p.m. for the men. Tickets are $20 each day at hartfordevents.com or at the gate if available.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flight's Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
What company makes your home more energy efficient, purifies your air, kills all viruses, and qualifies you for $6,000 in rebates? A.J. Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis at ajmichaels.com.
Oh, honey, we better stop for gas soon. Let's pull into that Royal Farms.
Ugh, gas is so expensive.
Nope, it'll be cheaper than you think.
Why's that?
I signed up for Rofo Pay on the Royal Farms app. Now we save 15 cents per gallon at all Royal Farms.
Wow, that'll save us a ton of money. I love you more every day.
Well, then, don't get a speeding ticket this trip, okay?
Sign up for ROFO Rewards and upgrade to ROFO Pay and save 15 cents a gallon on gas for a limited time. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
Stan the Fan, of course, here with us on a Friday edition of GCR. And Stan, you and Eric Garfield got caught up last night.
Yeah, we had an entertaining show last night. We talked about it. So it's kind of mystifying. You look at MLB.com's top 100 prospects.
Yes.
They, of course, still have Jackson Holliday as one.
I think is it 30 games after that you graduate?
Something like that. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what it is. But they've got Evan Carter and Wyatt Langford, and they're all in the major leagues, you know. Jackson Merrill is also on the list. But who is really still a prospect that's in the minors, and who is going to, you know, move into the number one spot? And that's what we talked about.
All right.
You know, by mid-season this year when everything – and I think Eric and I both agreed it's going to be a rarity this time around, and we think Paul Skeens might have a shot to be
the pitcher as the top overall prospect. I know it's been a tough start to the year for Dylan Cruz with the Nationals, and maybe some of the bloom is coming off the rose a little bit there.
Mayo's having a terrific start, but he's 28th coming into the season.
Yeah, it's a heck of a –
Heston Kjerstad is 30th coming into the season. And he's off the charts right now.
It's been unbelievable, his start to the year. So, yeah, find that right now. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. And then, of course, Monday, Stan, Ross, and Luke will get back together. A couple of things before we chat with Ja'Kobi Gillespie. One, a lot of hubbub about Kentucky hiring Mark Pope as their new basketball coach. It definitely feels low end for Kentucky basketball. Interesting to me that some of the reporting is like they didn't really even bother poking around all that much with Billy Donovan.
Right.
I get it. You were going to have to wait at least.
Where was Mark Pope coaching at?
He was at BYU. Had some success, but a limited. This really is a homegrown kid. Like, let's bring him back and see if he can't become our guy for forever type of thing, which is bold for Kentucky. Yeah. Like, you would not – in fact, the response from Kentucky fans when they heard that he was getting an interview was like, this is cruel to Mark Pope. Why would you do this?
Right.
Give him the hope that he could be the coach when you know Kentucky –
Give hope to Pope.
Hope to Pope, yes, exactly right. When you know Kentucky can't hire someone with as little success as Mark Pope has had as a head coach – joke's on them, he's the coach.
You know, it might speak to the pressures of the job. You know, the fans that were critical of Calipari, they may rue the day that they were that critical of him. That led to, I think that led to as much as anything, his sort of exploring and letting it percolate in his head that he could leave there and get a great job and create something new.
Well, and the fact that like Scott Drew said, "Nah, I'm good. I'll stick it out of Baylor. Yeah. I'm all right." Yeah. A place where basketball will never be he won a national championship, and the next morning he woke up and was like the 50th most important person in the athletics department. Right. That's just the way they treat basketball there, and the fact that even that wasn't enough for Scott Drew to say, "Yeah, all right, it's Kentucky. I got to go do it." I don't know. It's interesting to me that they didn't explore the Billy Donovan thing further.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a Mark Pope saying, dude, I'm not going to wait. Like,
Yeah.
once I get involved in the process, either
they're in a tricky part of their season too, recruiting wise.
Sure.
This is
Sure.
a time where you got to get up on the horse. and
particularly
really
with the
get
transfer portal now
Yeah.
being such a significant part of building a roster. But yeah, Mark Pope ends up being the one who gets the Kentucky job, the former BYU coach and the former Kentucky player himself. Speaking of
Yeah, was Calipari. So Calipari, when he was hired, he was like that was a great hire in the eyes of Kentucky
absolutely.
fans at the time.
I mean, he had
Because
he
was at Memphis.
Yeah, he had
before,
legitimate
and-
success and
been in the NBA.
right.
Okay.
Like John Calipari was
UMass.
This was you not having the interview ready to go.
No,
and so
no,
you
no. I
needed to
have,
kill
no,
a
I did.
second.
Well, I was genuinely curious, like if there was any pushback when Calipari was originally hired, like in.
No, John Calipari was seen as
It was the
very-
right move. For
Remember,
Kentucky.
Memphis had gone to a national championship game. Like,
Okay.
he had just been on the precipice of winning a national championship at Memphis. And had gone to a Final Four at UMass with
And then didn't Memphis
Marcus
have
Camby.
to forfeit all those games?
And UMass had to forfeit. Like, technically, I believe the history of basketball says that John Calipari did not make a Final Four at either UMass or at
okay.
Memphis, when he definitely made Final Fours at both UMass and at Memphis. No, he was an absolute slam dunk hire for Kentucky at the point at which they hired him. This is not – I don't believe Mark Pope has ever won a game in the NCAA tournament as a head coach. That is, for Kentucky basketball, very low end. They wouldn't be able to do – if Mark Pope hadn't played at Kentucky and won a national championship there –
as a player,
Lexington would be burning today. But the fact that he is one of their own – they don't like it, but like they have to mitigate that a little bit where they're like, right, but we like Mark.
I'm going to say something that I know is ridiculous, but
Yeah.
when the job became open, I wondered for a split second, would this be a job that Mike Krzyzewski would come
for
out
just
of
a second?
retirement, And of course I got, he wouldn't do
Okay,
it.
so that, no, obviously, but it is funny that a couple people, Kentucky has a very fascinating, there is a website called KentuckySportsRadio.com, and it is like very much the type of thing that begat Barstool Sports.
Mm-hmm.
It was a group of Kentucky fans that got together and started this thing and created personalities, and given the market size, they were able to become very important in that state, and I've always found them to be entertaining and a little bit they're in on it. Like, they know they're the creepy message board, and they know they're the weirdos, and they talk about it that way. And it's run by a guy named Matt Jones. And as I was following it, there were a lot of people that were wondering, well, maybe in hindsight, should it have been Pitino?
Right.
Should you have just said, hey, we know this is only going to be for like 3 to 5 years, but could we have called Rick Pitino and said, you get one chance to bring it all full circle and go out in glory? Like, yeah, you're doing nice things at St. John's, but you're not going to win a national championship there. Maybe you could win one more national championship before it's all over here, which would have been
interesting.
By the way, speaking of interesting, before we talk Ja'Kobi Gillespie and transfers, Ian Martinez, remember, who played at Maryland 2 years ago, then started at Utah, transferred to Maryland, transferred back to Utah State, and is back in the transfer portal.
Oh, and he might go to Kentucky.
No.
Oh, where's he?
Among the teams that he's been talking to, the University of Maryland.
You know what? It kind of makes sense. So if he started at Utah University and then went to Maryland, so like the University of Maryland, and then he went to Utah State, so like Towson State makes.
Yeah, but there is no Towson State.
Well,
that doesn't exist any longer.
A lot of people still
no,
know
he's
Towson State.
No, okay, that would be Morgan
Yeah,
State.
I mean,
Sure, those
yeah.
things would be options.
Frostburg
No,
State.
apparently, once again, talking to Maryland. And
Do they have a scholarship?
yeah, because they did not expect Kaiser to leave. So that one becomes open. And in fact,
Matty Trior is, I believe he's going to transfer out too. He was scholarship.
Yeah, he was
so,
scholarship. Yeah,
I'm not
100%.
sure.
Did Ian Martinez play for Willard for one season?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he was
So
just
there's a
there.
familiar- yeah,
And
right,
in
that's what
fact,
I
they
thought.
really did, as much as we all were kind of like, okay,
kinda
Ian
liked
Martinez.
him.
Well, he shot. Like, the one thing that he could hit a three, which no one on the team was able to do a year ago. Yeah. So I can understand why Maryland might be interested in him again. There's a story going around. I don't know if you saw the Corey Dyches, the tight end at Maryland.
Right.
he just committed. He entered the transfer portal. Everybody thinking that he, like C.J. Dupree, would end up somewhere like big. He committed to Charlotte. Now, look, we like Biff, and there's a lot of interesting things about him, but there's no question that that's a step down from playing in the Big Ten. You can't get around that. And maybe there's some NIL money that helps make up for that, but it is unquestionably a step down. One of the rumors that was floating around, and I cannot corroborate this in any way, was that maybe when the transfer portal wasn't falling the way that he wanted it to, he put a feeler back out to see if he would be welcome back. And there might have been no, Chief, you said you didn't want to be a part of this anymore, and we moved on. There were guys that wanted to be here, and we're going to move on with those guys. So I don't know. I want to make it abundantly clear. I do not know that story to be true, but it is, as we continue to monitor the transfer portal and how it's changed college athletics, like the story of Ian Martinez perhaps going from Maryland, Utah to Maryland, Utah State to Maryland, and I'm not saying that's how it's going to play out, but it's possible. There might be a lot more stories like this moving forward. All right. Had to do this a little bit earlier on because of his schedule, but an opportunity to meet.
You can tell me the truth.
Stan, we just wanted to make sure. This wasn't on Ja'Kobi Gillespie. We didn't want Stan to talk to him. That was what it was this time.
It was Griffin.
No, this is a Griffin thing. You guys are going to have to duke it out here maybe later on. But our first opportunity to get to know an incoming Maryland basketball transfer, Ja'Kobi Gillespie from Belmont, now a Terp here on GCR. It's our pleasure now here on GCR to be joined by a new Maryland Terrapin. He had an outstanding season this year at Belmont, made the decision to continue his collegiate career in College Park. We welcome in Ja'Kobi Gillespie, who's with us on GCR. Ja'Kobi, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Yes, sir, for sure.
Everything good? I imagine like this has to be exciting for you. I know, there's nothing disparaging or anything about the past, but like just the excitement of moving up and coming to the Big Ten. How good are you feeling right now?
Yeah, it's definitely super exciting for me. I can't wait to get down there and be with all my new teammates and coaches and stuff. So, yeah, it's definitely been super exciting.
Ja'Kobi, walk me through the whole process, right? Like obviously you're having this outstanding season at Belmont. At some point, does it strike you, hey, man, I'd like to test myself. I'd like to maybe be doing this at the highest level moving forward?
Yeah, I definitely had some of those thoughts in my head, but I was just trying to finish out the season, do as good as we could, and then think about it, talk with my family, and just figure it out.
So you end up making the decision, and you hear from – it seemed like you were hearing from everybody, Ja'Kobi. Like, I kept looking on social media, and they'd be like, list of schools Ja'Kobi Gillespie has heard from. And I was like, why don't you list the ones he hasn't heard from? Because it felt like it was everyone. What was important to you as you were going through this process and trying to decide where you wanted to end up, and then why did it end up being Maryland, obviously?
I definitely wanted to win, but I also wanted to have a high impact and wanted to be around a good group of guys, coaches, and teammates. So, and when I visited Maryland, it kind of just felt like home, just like they were all so welcoming and family, and it felt like family. So that was really the main thing. And we have a good group of guys coming in, I feel like, and I feel like we can really win.
Did you have any connections with anybody here before that?
My AAU coach, he played with Ricky Harris back in the day.
All right. So yeah, there's a connection. All right. And so is that how sort of that got going?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, man. So
Bobby was talking to Ricky.
And look at how things worked out, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Is part of it too? We all saw the season that Jameer had last year for Maryland, and it was obviously it was a tough season on the whole. But it looks, I think what's been clear the last couple of years is the opportunity that exists for a point guard here at Maryland for being sort of that guy. Was that something that jumped out to you?
Yeah, that definitely played a big part in it too. Just seeing how Maryland's just known for point guards, I definitely just wanted to definitely caught my attention, and I knew I could be the next one.
That's cool, man. Ja'Kobi Gillespie is with us here on GCR. Ja'Kobi, was there any? You say it's a place where you could win. Somebody might say back, well, hey, that was tough last year for Maryland. What gave you the confidence? Obviously, Derek Queen coming into the mix, but like, what gave you the confidence that this program's ready to take a step forward after having a tough year last year?
I mean, yeah, we got Derek Queen and Rodney Rice, but also just the coach's vision. He knew what the reason for all the games they lost last year. He knew what he was missing, and I feel like he's gonna find that, and I feel like he's gonna be back winning.
So we know that Maryland, the one thing that wasn't an issue for Maryland a year ago was their defense, they were relentless. Is that something that you pride yourself on and say, yeah, I can do that. I'm good with playing. I want to play both sides. Like, I want to be a tough, hard-nosed defender as well.
Yeah, for sure. That's what gets me going. I think just starting off on defense, playing as hard as I can, that really helps my offense. So it all starts on defense.
That's cool. Ja'Kobi, so we got to get some background here. You're a Tennessee kid through and through. Like, it is just getting out and seeing make like another part of the world something that you were ready to do at this point?
Yeah, I feel like it definitely is. I mean, I love Tennessee, but I've always liked just exploring.
So what did you know anything about this area? Like, was it something where, do you own a coat? Like, I feel like these are the questions that you have to ask yourself when you – yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to have to get used to it for sure because I'm not used to being in the cold like that. But, yeah, it's just – I think I'm ready for it. I think I'm ready to try something new.
As I was diving in on you, Ja'Kobi, I came across the famous alley-oop from when you were in high school, the bounce pass that you finished off. Is this something that you would like to recreate at some point? Is this something that, like, maybe during practice you've asked other guys to try throwing a bounce pass into an alley-oop?
Yeah, for sure. I've definitely done it in practice. So. But that would be too hard to do.
I was going to say, is there any chance that we could see it come out at some point, or is it just not, like, this is really a once-in-a-lifetime thing?
Yeah, that's really, like, probably a once-in-a-lifetime thing, honestly.
Is it of your basketball career, is it your favorite in-game moment? Because obviously, like, big wins, like, those things stand apart. But is that your favorite, or is there another shot or something that you're particularly proud of?
I mean, I won 2 state championships in high school, so I mean, I would say those, but that was definitely the best, like, play.
Yeah, individual play, right? Like,
yeah, that was definitely.
Dude, that's one of the wildest things I've ever seen in my life. Had you guys worked on that beforehand, or did it just happen?
No, it really just happened. Wow. We've never worked on that.
Dude, okay, so for the other side of it, where you're going up for the dunk, was there any part of you, like, as you were doing it, like, holy hell, did he really just do that?
I mean, yeah, I thought that as soon as he did it, but I was like, I got to go get it now.
Man, it's one of the coolest things I've ever seen, bro. Like, it is an incredibly cool thing that you will have for the rest of your life. We're chatting with Ja'Kobi Gillespie here on GCR. He's coming to play basketball at Maryland. So, Ja'Kobi, on the whole, what if somebody hasn't watched your game before, what would you want them to know about you as far as just everything that you bring to the floor?
I mean, just that I'm going to always play hard on both ends of the ball, and I like to get others involved, and that really helps me score the ball. So I like to get others involved and play hard on defense, and that just really helps. I feel like it helps the overall team.
Have you had an opportunity? You mentioned, Rodney Rice coming in too. Have you had a chance to link up with any of these guys yet? Like, even trade texts, get to know these guys at all?
No, I have not. I mean, I've traded texts with Derek and Rodney and DHS.
Okay.
But that's really it so far.
What about as far as, so, like, obviously Rodney was first and you came in. Have you found yourself, like, maybe trying to do any more recruiting to help, like, land anybody else to try to get the team in?
I'm definitely doing some recruiting on my own.
Is there anyone in particular that you've been working on?
I mean, I'm trying to get Chaz Lanier down here, so because he's from Nashville, so I'm trying to get.
Got it.
Chaz Lanier?
Yeah, that makes sense, right? Like, that makes sense. That's a connection that you would be able to work on. How you say it's something that you want to win, right? Playing at this level, that's a big deal, but the part of it, like going to the tournament and having that chance to make a run, how important are those things for you moving forward?
Yeah, that's super important. I mean, that's why we play. I mean, to win games. So I feel like I definitely want to get to the tournament. That's always been a dream of mine, just watching the tournament. So that's definitely something I want to play in.
You know, it would be it would be great news for everybody involved here. Are you a seafood fan whatsoever? Like, have you, I'm guessing down there that you probably haven't had like steamed crabs ever in your life before.
Yeah, I have.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I love seafood.
Oh, perfect, right? Like, this is a perfect fit then for you up here. What's your favorite seafood?
Yeah, I would say crab legs, but I love shrimp too.
Okay, this works, man. I dig this already. This is perfect. Okay, so away from basketball, what else should we know about you, Ja'Kobi? Like, when you're not hooping, what does life look like? Maybe like on a Friday night, or just when you have some downtime.
I'm either watching TV shows or playing the game, so I really like to chill inside.
All right, give me a show that you've been watching recently.
Well, there hasn't really been any out recently, but my favorite show is probably like Stranger Things.
Okay, I mean, like, look, everybody can agree on it. So, are you good with the idea of them continuing Stranger Things without Millie Bobby Brown if she just does one more season?
Yeah, I am actually.
Okay, all right. I feel like I love, like everything about. So this is the weird part for me. I'm not like a huge sci-fi person. Like, I love the Ja'Kobi, please. I'm 40, right? So like all of the retro stuff really does it for me. Like, it calls back. I remember like life when it looked like that. The sci-fi stuff is nuts. Like, it's crazy to me. But I love all the throwback stuff, and I love the characters and the interaction between those kids, and like the friendship part of it, to me, is just as good as all the sci-fi stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Ja'Kobi Gillespie with us just another minute here on GCR before he gets ready to come play basketball at the University of Maryland. Ja'Kobi, how much, too, as part of this path is your belief in what you can do playing at the highest level, that like Maryland can help you get to that place where you have a shot at making the NBA?
Yeah, I mean, Coach just told me and showed some of the situations I would be in when I'm on the court. So, and I really like the fit. So I feel like I would just fit right in and be able to play how I play.
And then I imagine, it's hilarious. I'm about to say this about someone who's 6'1" when I say undersized, right? Because like, LOL, I'm undersized. But like, how much of that has maybe given you like a chip on your shoulder to try to constantly prove people wrong? Because, everybody says, like, you got to be 6'6" now in order to be able to play at the highest level.
Yeah, I mean, that's just not true, because we've seen it happen a lot. But if you're an undersized guard, then you definitely have to show how tough you are and play as hard as you can on the court. So it's definitely both sides.
I think I saw somewhere that was Chris Paul the guy that you always looked up to growing up?
Yeah, it was.
And kind of the perfect encapsulation of exactly what you can be, right?
Yeah.
You got that. Sure. I mean, he's got that wicked mid-range jumper, man. Like, that thing just lulls people to sleep.
Yeah, he's crazy.
It's nuts, man. It's nuts. All right, Ja'Kobi, what can we plug for you social media-wise? Where can Maryland fans be giving you a follow? Twitter, Instagram, anywhere like that?
They can follow me on my Instagram and Twitter.
And what's
yeah. They're both K0B1G.
K0B1G. Ja'Kobi, we're really excited about getting you here to Maryland and can't wait to see you on the floor, man. Really appreciate spending a couple of minutes chatting with us. Thanks so much for doing this, and congratulations again.
Yes, sir. No problem, and thank you.
That's Ja'Kobi Gillespie, incoming Maryland basketball transfer, and as you can hear, like that, the bringing up the Jahmir Young factor and, what he has seen about point guards and clearly there have been other point guards that predated the Kevin Willard era that had a great deal of success, but just seeing that within Kevin Willard's offense, you're allowed as a point guard to be an attacker and to have things go through you. You could tell just in his response, yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. I want that role, and Maryland's going to give it to him next year.
Sounded like a really good kid.
Good kid, 100%.
Very respectful,
it worked out, right? Maryland went that route to find Jameer Young. They pulled a transfer from Charlotte and bring him at this level, and it seems like, and we'll talk about this more with your friend Tom Strickler here in a few minutes, but it seems like this is the way to recruit now, is to look at it to how it turned out for UConn with Cam Spencer. Now, Cam Spencer was just a part of the story. He wasn't the single part of the story, but he was a big part of the story for UConn this year, as well as Newton.
Cam Spencer played for Loyola.
Loyola, yes, and then transferred to Rutgers first, and then ultimately UConn, right?
Wow.
And this is the way to do it. This is the way to find those guys. Now, the other pieces for Maryland have to work, right? Like Derek Queen has to be as good as everybody thinks Derek Queen's going to be.
As advertised.
Deshaun Harris-Smith must be dramatically better than he was a season ago. There has to be a huge step up, and it'll be interesting to see how it works with Rodney Rice now, because I think a lot of people thought Rodney Rice might be the guy, but I don't know which of these two. Like, it feels like Ja'Kobi Gillespie believes he's going to get that chance, and hell, he scored 17 points a game. Rodney Rice has barely played as a collegiate player, so it'll be interesting to see how that all works out in the backcourt for Maryland, but good to catch up with Ja'Kobi Gillespie. We continue along here on a Friday edition of the program. We are just days away. What day exactly is the new print issue available next week, Stan?
According to the printer, it will arrive on
Wednesday. Wednesday of next week, you will be able to start getting out to your neighborhood Royal Farms and the hundreds of locations around town where you find Pressbox to pick up the new Pressbox print issue. In fact, I think I could maybe share what the cover looks like. Hang on a second. See if this will translate and people can. It's maybe too big of an image. It might not work. I don't know. Well, you can see part of the cover anyway. See kind of what it looks like. As our cover story this month is a profile of Grayson Rodriguez. And you can't see the whole thing on the screen there, but that's part of what the cover will look like.
Really powerful cover. Great picture. And,
yep. A really good cover. I've read the story Luke Jackson wrote, spoke to a number of folks, people that have known Grayson along the way. Grayson's father, Gilbert, who you remember that emotional scene from down in Texas a year ago. I've spoken to a lot of people to dive in on Grayson Rodriguez's path. Stan and I, we talk about this all the time. I know Stan is not giving up hope on the idea that Corbin Burns could be in Baltimore for a long time. I'm not saying impossible. I'm operating unlikely. But if Corbin Burns is not around long term, I think that watching Grayson Rodriguez this season becomes more and more interesting, because are we watching the Orioles version of Corbin Burns moving forward for the next 5 to 6 years with Grayson Rodriguez at the top of the rotation? And again, for the most part, so far this season, he's shown signs that he could grow into that guy. So that's the cover story for the new print issue of Pressbox, which will be available, as Stan mentioned, next Wednesday.
Did Luke talk to Shohei Ohtani's interpreter?
I do not believe that was one of the sources that Luke...
Just curious.
No, I don't think that was one of the conversations.
Grayson figures to make a lot of money in the next few years.
So maybe he's looking for some new work. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be the route that they're going to go. It is the most bizarre story in baseball history, man. It is so...
I'm telling you, that's my new career.
Man, you better start working on your Japanese.
I'm gonna work
better. What do you got besides Konnichiwa so far?
Sayonara.
There you go. That's you know what?
Pretty
that's a start. That's a start.
And then just figure out what 40 million means and or
how
to say that in Japanese, and then you're pretty much set.
Password.
Or pin. Yeah, what's
password?
Pin.
Password.
Pin is what you need. All right, when we come back in, Ryan Spilborghs is going to join us. He's on the call tonight for Orioles-Brewers on Apple TV+. Stan's here. It's a Friday edition of GCR.
Hey, it's Jeremy Kahn. This postseason, bet in person at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks with locations in Canton and in Towson, and enjoy the best in-class sports wagering experience at their state-of-the-art facilities, bringing an unmatched sports betting thrill.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor, dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan-favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Oh, honey, we better stop for gas soon. Let's pull into that Royal Farms.
Ugh, gas is so expensive.
Nope, it'll be cheaper than you think.
Why's that?
I signed up for Rofo Pay on the Royal Farms app. Now we save 15 cents per gallon at all Royal Farms.
Wow, that'll save us a ton of money. I love you more every day.
Well then, don't get a speeding ticket this trip, okay?
Sign up for Rofo Rewards and upgrade to Rofo Pay and save 15 cents a gallon on gas for a limited time. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis. AJMichaels.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flight's Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along with Stan the Fan Charles in studio on a Friday edition of the program. UFC 300 is tomorrow night, and the best place to watch it is Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Great food and drink specials. That giant media wall. So if you want to watch the fights but also want to keep your eye on something else that you bet on, an NBA game, something like that. Actually, no, there's no NBA games tomorrow because they want to make a big deal about Sunday being the final day of the regular season. So nobody plays tomorrow. But a hockey game, something like that, anything else that's going on, they've got them all up. Baseball, of course, all up on the other screens there at Sports and Social. It is the best place to watch all of the big events, and UFC 300 certainly qualifies for tomorrow night. So make sure if you want to reserve a table, I think there might be like one left at this point. So get to the Sports and Social tab at the Live Casino and Hotel Maryland website, or get there early and go directly to the desk at the FanDuel Sportsbook if you want to reserve one of those blue lounging chairs for hanging out and watching UFC 300 tomorrow night at Sports and Social.
By the way, weather-wise, 62 degrees right now, it says.
But rain's supposed to be out of the picture before.
At 4 o'clock, 30% chance of rain. 5 o'clock, 40%. And then by 6 p.m., it's clear.
Love
the
this.
rest of the night.
Love
and 66
this.
degrees
So
at game time.
So that means that the Orioles will be clear to play the Brewers tonight, and you'll be able to watch it on Apple TV+. If you're not, I think there's going to be a massive crowd, obviously, tonight at Camden Yards for Jackson Holliday's home debut. But if you're not able to make it to the ballpark, you can watch it on Apple TV+, and our next guest will be on the call. You, of course, hear him on MLB Network Radio. He is the Spilly Goat, Ryan Spilborghs, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Ryan, it's Glenn and Stan in Baltimore. It's always great to catch up with you. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Yeah, I was worried Stan was going to rain on our parade with the weather report.
Yeah,
so it's kind of nice. I'm right in the Inner Harbor, looking out. I'm really close to the stadium. I love coming to Baltimore. I love the Natty Bows and getting my crab cakes.
Ryan, any shot I could have your Jackson Holliday debut T-shirt? I know they're going to give them to you. I know they're going to give you one, and you're not going to wear it. You don't care about Jackson Holliday.
I think.
Yeah, you don't think I care about.
I think we know. I think we know
That's
from.
right. That's
yeah,
right.
from
You
our.
know,
I
Matt.
think we know from our conversations that you care a great deal, and I did want to start with that. Like Ryan, I know you're a professional, and it won't be that on the broadcast, but what are you like? You've told us about watching this young man grow up, and when he would be hanging around with you guys. What does it mean to you to see him now here and having arrived at the major league level?
It's emotional, to be honest. I mean, because Matt Holliday was a teammate of mine. We played together with the Rockies for 4 years. We had our World Series run together, and then Jackson was our kid. You know, like he was a kid that because every Sundays after games we'd go to the Holidays for dinner. We'd have barbecues, and our team was really close knit. Kind of like this. It reminds me a lot like this Baltimore Orioles group. You just have like a bunch of players that are really good that were in the minor leagues together, and they won together, and they grew up together, and like get married in the off seasons, and they're at each other's weddings and all that stuff. That was our Rockies team, and Jackson was our kid, and I probably flipped more baseballs to Jackson than I could even remember and recount. And it's not just me. That's the part where I think I point out, it was like, I understand number one prospect in baseball. And as an Orioles fan, like, it's such an exciting time for Orioles fans to see Jackson and Colton Cowser and all the other guys that are out there. However, for a lot of big leaguers, like, that were on the Oakland A's or that played for the Yankees or that played for the Cardinals, because Jackson was raised by Albert Pujols and Aaron Judge and Yadi Molina and Troy Tulowitzki. Like, there's so many people that were in the baseball fraternity that watched this kid grow. That's why the Tony Kemp tweet from a couple days ago is so cool, because that's the reaction that so many players are having. It's like, man, like, we watched this kid grow. We were there. We flipped them balls. We took some fly balls with them in the outfield. So it's special to the frat in baseball. So yeah, to me personally, it means a lot.
It's really cool. That's really cool.
I'm glad you mentioned the Tony Kemp tweet. Glenn and I mentioned it earlier too. Really a class move by a really good guy, Tony Kemp.
Yeah, no question. Tony Kemp is awesome. There's a couple guys around baseball that have this, the personality of being, team first. Like, I'll give you another example, Jace Peterson with the Arizona Diamondbacks. And I'm not sure if you guys remember the story last year, but Tommy Pham was 4 for 4 in the World Series and gave up his last at bat to Jace Peterson. And people asked, Tommy, was like, why didn't you want to take your last at bat? And he said, he was like, do you know Jace Peterson? Have you met him? And if you do, you would have known that my at bat for trying to get a fifth hit meant nothing in comparison to making sure Jace Peterson got an at bat in the World Series. That's how people view Tony Kemp.
Yeah.
So it's those type of personality. That's, again, like the fabric of baseball, right?
It's really cool.
Hey, can I ask you a question, Spilly? You've been a player. You've worked as an analyst. You do the talk radio on Sirius XM. Have you ever seen a major league team that has this many ready prospects at AAA? I mean, is this as unique as I think it is?
Man, there's been some pretty good organizations the last couple of years that have had it. So I try not to have recency bias. I mean, like there's a couple of years ago where, the Dodgers AAA team had like all these players, Matt Kemp, Russell Martin, Andre Ethier, but it doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that often. Like there are examples of it where you see it. And I think what's impressive to me, and even, using the Dodgers as the example, is that you really have to have a focus as an organization on development of your players within the minor league system. So you have to have all the pieces and parts in place, from scouting to development to analytics to nutrition, to get the most out of these players, because it's one thing to draft a good player, because there's 30 teams that draft good players every single year. It's another thing to create that culture and environment where these players actually get better. And that's what it looks like to me that Baltimore has created. That's why I think Mike Elias is so proud of what they've been able to do in the last couple of years, is because they've created that culture. They've created that minor league system where they can sustain, hopefully for a long period of time, because that's truly what great organizations do, is you build from within, and then you watch the fruits of your labor go to the big leagues and be successful.
He is Ryan Spilborghs. He'll be on the call tonight for Apple TV Plus as the Orioles take on the Brewers. Ryan, this team obviously is extraordinarily good, right? But and as Stan points out, with even more talent potentially on the way after Jackson Holliday, what maybe is still a concern for you in the concept of this Orioles team trying to win a World Series, going from being good, being competitive, winning even 100 games a year ago, to now trying to take the next step to win a World Series? What might still concern you about this group?
Well, it's not going to be See, one common misconception is you hear like lack of experience, lack of postseason experience. That's not necessarily true. There's so many cases where Tampa Bay Rays in 2008 they had no experience to get to the World Series. Rockies in 2007 got to the World Series. Like the last couple of years, Kansas City Royals 2014. Like, I don't think experience. Like, you don't have to have veteran players all the time. You don't have to have experienced players in the World Series to win one. I think what it boils down to now is making sure all the little things are done correctly. So, hitting cutoff man, not, taking a pitch off, and just kind of keeping the foot on the gas. And then from a front office standpoint is, my criticism of Baltimore has been, and I think fair warranted, was I felt like they've been very risk adverse as far as moving any players from the minor league system to acquire big league talent. And that's going to be a challenge, because there are going to be pieces of the roster where you're not quite as good, because once you get to the postseason, it doesn't have to be a name. It doesn't have to be a name, but you have to fill the margins, because that's the difference between a win and a loss at the highest of highs. So you have to make sure your bench is tight. You have to make sure your middle relief is tight. All these little things that if you don't have it within the organization, what is Mike Elias in the front office willing to do to acquire it? And I haven't seen him do that yet. So that's kind of my challenge as I watch this Orioles team, is to keep moving forward, keep getting better. And then on the parts where you don't have that, are you willing to go out and acquire it?
Spilly, can you talk to folks that are watching Jackson Holliday for the first time? This is a kid who's played nothing but shortstop. The difficulties in footwork, angles, and so on over at second base, and we've seen twice he's had a little bit of trouble with pop-ups, high pop-ups in the shallow outfield. Could you talk a little bit about that, how different the positions are?
Sure. Well, first off, those two plays, those are outfield plays. Like on the very first one on his debut, I think Anthony Santander was like way deep in right field, and Red Sox right field's really deep. That should be an outfielder's play. And then there's actually two of those that should have been an outfielder's play. But regardless, that's a very nuanced, difficult play. But as far as like learning the position, it's a little bit backwards for a lot of infielders. Getting the feed from short and third. Your back is kind of to the runner when you're for a double play ball. You have a lot more time than you think, unless you're going up the middle. So there's all these plays that he hasn't quite learned yet, but he's going to, and it doesn't mean that he can't do them. Like, I think you've already seen the arm strength. The last little part, and it's just from like a human element. when I made it to the big leagues and I had my major league debut in Cincinnati, there wasn't T-shirts being made for the first 10,000 fans that come through the gate.
They had no had no foresight,
right?
Ryan. They had no foresight.
Yeah, so it took a while to get the T-shirts made. Regardless of how good this kid is, regardless of what I think he's going to end up being down the road, that's an incredible amount of pressure regardless, right? Like being from like just the human element. So I'm excited to see him tonight. I think he's gonna have a lot of mistakes, and he's gonna fail a bunch of times, just like every big leaguer. It just happens to be under a little bit bigger of a microscope right now because it's so much fun to see this kid.
Look, there is we've used the term adjustment period a lot this week, right? It's just we've been throwing it out there almost like we're experts. But knowing Jackson, knowing his support system, knowing how he's handled things, do you feel like he's maybe even more prepared for that adjustment than the average, certainly 20-year-old would be trying to adjust to the major league level?
I don't know because my son is 13. Dad was a big leaguer. Dad coaches him up. Dad's on TV. Dad talks about all this stuff. I after every game I'm saying like, did you have fun? And we go get an ice cream. I would say my son should be super prepared for failure as much as anybody, and he's really struggling, right? So it's like even having a parent in a support system that is caring and loving and there to like hold your hand and pick you up, all those things that you need from a support system. It's still your nature, especially if you're not getting results right away, to doubt yourself. Like it's what happens. That's why baseball is such a brutal sport. Is because you can lose your confidence in a heartbeat. You can lose it in a weekend series. You can lose it at 13 years old. So I think he should be right more than a common 20-year-old, but it's still up to that person, even with the great support system, to kind of like just grab your breath, let it happen, not worry so much about results, and just go out there and try to play.
Spilly, I know you're a real student of the game. Glenn, tell me, will he be able to look up the John Mioli piece on the Baltimore Banner, or will he get blocked?
We can try to link it to him somehow.
There's a piece that John Mioli, who used to write for the Sun, writing for the new paper in town. There's no paper; it's a website, news website. John Mioli, inside the simple adjustment that fueled Orioles prospect Colton Cowser's hot spring start. I read the piece when I was down in Sarasota. Really terrific about a small adjustment that Cowser's made. Can you talk to that about how the simplest little thing of keeping your hands back or something like that can make such a huge difference?
So I'll tell you a story of mine. I was in the minor leagues. I was really struggling. I was in high A, and my mom came to visit me during a weekend series. I lost my mom about 15 years ago, and so when I was walking to the plate, I'm swinging this big old bat because I was working on trying to keep my hands inside and control the barrel. And I asked my mom after the game, I was like, Mom, what do you got? What do you see? And she was like, you don't look right. And I was like, what are you talking about? My mom, she grew up in Guatemala. She's the reason why I ended up playing baseball.
Wow.
But when I walked to the plate, I was like, what do you mean I don't look right? She was like, you're dragging the bat. You're dragging the bat to the plate. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, you're like, when you are good. And she'd watched me since I was a kid, right? She's like, when you walk up to the plate, you carry the bat by the barrel, almost like a suitcase. And so the next day, like I'm on the on-deck circle and I, smash the weight back down on the ground and I'd like walk up to the plate instead of dragging the bat like it was. I carry the bat by the barrel. And just like that, boom, I felt like I was walking to hit the right way, so sometimes it's not even a mechanical adjustment. It's like a mindset. It might be a friendly reminder of something that you do to feel that confidence when you're getting up to the plate.
It's fascinating.
So it can be as simple as that.
I mean, we're talking about a guy last year in 61 at-bats in the major leagues, hit 115, and he has raked since spring training started. I mean, he has been phenomenal.
He's been awesome.
It's great.
He's been awesome.
He's been awesome. He's been fun to watch. The 2 homers last night was great. I love the energy that Cowser is bringing. I mean, this team is really, really fun. And as a side note, if I know people are saying, like, well, how am I going to be able to watch this game on Apple TV Plus? It's free. There's a free 2-month trial. So if you go on,
great!
I can send out the link. So it's free for everybody for the first 2 months. So if you haven't signed up already, you can.
No excuses.
So you can catch the
no complaining.
Excuses.
No complaining. This is the way it goes.
Cannot complain.
Watch tonight's game for free, and then maybe you'll find something you like after that. Like if you haven't given Ted Lasso, if you're the one guy on the planet that hasn't watched Ted Lasso, then maybe you could spend some time with that afterwards as you got the full 10
you got 2 months to get rid of it.
Right?
Or keep it. I keep it. I like it.
Ryan, always appreciate you, man. For those that aren't following you, and I don't know who in baseball world isn't, but SpillyGoat19 on Twitter, and of course MLB Network Radio as well. Enjoy.
Were you able to send that to him?
I'm gonna have my producer follow up. We can email that story to you.
And
so you can check it out.
I'll send you guys back the link
Awesome.
so you guys can tweet out the link on your social media so people can have a free trial subscription so they can watch the game.
That's great.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate you, man.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Ryan Spilborghs, of course, the former Colorado Rocky, and now going to do tonight's game for Apple TV Plus. I get it, and we get this all the time whenever there's a game like an Apple TV Plus thing. Apple TV Plus, to me, is more frustrating than some of the other apps because, like, there's just not as much on there that I'm concerned about. Like, when everybody was bitching about Peacock in the winter, I kind of said, look, I get it. That if you paid for NBC and then they wanted you to pay for Peacock too, then I would understand that. They're tell you they want you to have Peacock. They don't care if you have NBC. Right. Like that's what they want you to have.
Right.
We're gonna bitch and piss and moan about this eternally. I understand that, and I don't have the correct answer for it.
You can't fight City Hall. It's basically.
It's a good way of. Remember, there was once upon a time, your basic TV package did not include the Orioles games.
Right.
Once upon a time, we were able to watch about
40 games.
Yeah. On Channel 2 and whatever you could get there, and that you had to have the premium package in order to get HTS. I get it. I understand the frustration. I do. I'm going to watch tonight's game on Apple TV Plus while I'm also doing this adult social thing at my kid's school. I will figure out a way to watch the game on Apple TV Plus, and it won't be the end of the world for me. I understand the consternation. I understand I've got to have this app, and then the next one will be on. Is Peacock doing games again this year? I don't even know if that's even part of the package, like those Sunday morning games they were doing last year.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's happening again this year, but I know that there will be complaints about, well, now this one's only on Peacock. I get it. I understand it. I don't have the correct answer for you. What I would tell you is the same thing I say all the time. Within 10 years, it's all going to be on apps. Within 10 years, you're not going to be watching anything on cable. That will be gone. Everything will be – Masson will be an app or whatever it looks like, as David Rubenstein and his group try to figure out the future and if the Nationals are going to be a part of it or not. And like whatever that is, it's going to be an app. It's not going to be a cable network within a decade because there just won't be cable networks.
I think David Rubenstein is going to look to Shohei Ohtani's.
You think that's going to be where he's going to get
figure things
like
out.
a consultant role, perhaps?
Because he's absolutely brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah, he's
one of the most brilliant. He's one of the most brilliant businessmen I've ever heard of.
You say that after he serves about his 15th year in jail. Although we like those types in this country. We have a thing for people that like to. If you can commit fraud at a high level.
Oh, there's a place for you at the top.
You're our guy. Yeah. That's who we're looking for.
For the record, they did drop Peacock dropped baseball for this season.
They dropped, so there are no Sunday morning games.
At least not on Peacock. They might.
I wonder if the MLB Players Union had something to do with that. Like, hey, we get
right.
the move to show more baseball, but getting those games started at like 11.
But they were like 11 a.m.
I know.
Like, what are you doing? And the idea was to create a new national. This is like what football is trying to do with these Europe games, where they're trying to create a new national broadcast window. Like you get the exclusivity of
9:30 in the morning.
You're the only game in town at that point. Everybody's got to watch you. And I get the thought, but yeah, to your point, I don't think the players, especially because they were definitely, it felt like it wasn't even a guarantee that you're going to play a Saturday afternoon game ahead of it, that you might be playing a Saturday night game into a Sunday morning game. It was absurd.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was absurd. All right, we continue along here on a Friday edition of the program. Today's show also brought to you by Goose Flights, still available all over town. Goose Flights is a delicious lager, and it goes to benefit a great cause because $1.98 from every can of Goose Flights sold goes directly to the Goose Flights Foundation and the work that they are doing to continue the legacy of the great Tony Siragusa by providing non-emergency medical transport for those in need. So go to PressBoxOnline.com/GooseFlights. You can find out where Goose Flights is available near you. Stan, we were just talking to Ja'Kobi Gillespie a little bit earlier on this morning, and I know our next guest is a longtime friend of yours, a recruiting expert, to be certain. He's with Steve Keller's National Recruiting Service. He is Tom Strickler, and he's with us now here on GCR. Tom, it's Glenn and Stan the Fan here in Baltimore. Great to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
No problem. Anything for Stan Charles.
Man, anything at all for Stan Charles?
Wow.
Like, Tom, if we...
Yeah, by the way, did you know...
There are limits, though. There are limits.
By the way, did you know that Tom Strickler was at one time the owner of a franchise in my original fantasy baseball league? His team was named by me, Strickler's Ticklers.
And we did pretty well.
Yeah, but Tom, you didn't say to Stan something like, maybe not Strickler's Ticklers. Like, appreciate where your head's at.
Great name, though, Strickler's
Ticklers.
Hey, listen, it was with a law firm, and they got me out of a speeding ticket. So
all right,
it all worked out.
Fair enough. That's a great point. Hey, Tom, before we get into these individual players, we were just Stan and I were just talking about this after we chatted with Ja'Kobi Gillespie. The way you go about building a team now, and we referenced UConn wins the national championship, and Newton and Klingon are big parts, but then they bring in Cam Spencer, who plays such a significant role, a local kid from here and went to Boys Latin. What is the correct way at this point in college basketball to try to build a team between traditional recruiting and the transfer portal?
Well, it certainly doesn't help us, scouting services, because high school players have become secondary because teams are losing their whole starting lineup, and they got to start over again, and they don't recruit high school players like they used to, and the playing field is so different. And sometimes it gives me a headache. I can imagine what these coaches are going through.
Certainly understand that. Is it, though, like, when you say that, I guess we still have to say you still need to be recruiting high school players. Like, you still need to try to build from within as possible. We have not gotten to the point yet where, like, it's just try to go pick up the best mid-majors you can and put together an all-star team, and that's your best way to go win a championship.
No doubt. Then I didn't mean that it's that.
Tom, we got you.
And they do, but what they do now is they're recruiting. The late recruiting period for coaches has been March and April. For the like this year's class 20. Now it's May. They say, I talked to about players, and they said, well, I'll see you in May. So, and there's high school players know that, and they're available. They really are. There's on my list, there are a lot of players available, a lot of high school players.
That is strange. That's not what we're used to, for sure. Tom Strickler is with us here on GCR. Tom, we're, of course – yeah, go ahead.
Case in point, I remember when Cam Spencer was a junior in high school and thought he might be a Division I player, and then he and his brother or something else, and now, all of a sudden, Danny Hurley saw him and said, I need this fit. So Cam Spencer from Boys Latin was an essential part of them winning the national championship. Who would have thought that?
It's one of the great local stories in not just basketball, it's great local sports stories between Cam and Pat.
My gosh,
I mean, it's just incredible what those two have done.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
Tom, tell us a little bit, first of all, are you familiar with the three big signings that Maryland has made? One is a pure high school player, Derek Queen, the center, and the two transfers, Ja'Kobi Gillespie and Rodney Rice. Are you familiar with those players?
I know Derek Queen like the back of my hand.
Okay.
I know Rodney Rice pretty well, but I don't know Ja'Kobi Gillespie. But I heard he's very talented. And, of course, they also have Malachi Palmer, who they got earlier in the year.
So tell us a little bit about the three players you do know.
Well, let's start with Derek, which is a major recruit for Maryland. So started watching Derek when he was a freshman in high school, and what I saw was a presence and a basketball IQ to go along with his good hands. And then, of course, he transferred down to Montverde, but I saw enough of him, and I saw him a couple times since it. His game is built on efficiency. It's built on finesse, skill, IQ, hands. With hands, I mean, you can rebound out of your area. You can get balls that are going astray. You can catch them. And what it does, it leads to a good touch, good shooting touch. And Derek is mastered these 9-foot floaters, uses the bank board well, and he has good footwork. And in any sport, you need balance. I don't care what it is. He's got great balance. It allows him to make good shots, and he's got dexterity.
We've also heard, Tom, we've also heard that he's an incredible passer. Can you talk to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, he's 6'9", and when you're 6'9" and a good passer, you can pass over people around him and under him. And, and that leads to his IQ.
Yeah.
He doesn't make many bad plays. I'm not saying he's Larry Bird, but he's Larry Bird-like, and that Larry Bird, in other words, it seems like he's a step ahead. Like he'll see a cutter before he cuts. Therefore, he can lay the ball in his hands. So, that's definitely a part of his game, a big part of his game. Listen, I have high hopes for him. Maryland needs a shot in the arm. They're lucky to get him. And being his size, because he's so versatile, he can create mismatches. He can play. No, he's the new hybrid center. The only thing he doesn't use athleticism because he doesn't have any. Now, that doesn't mean he's not he's an athlete, but he's not explosive like some people are. Some players are. He just uses his mind and his body and what God gave him, which is good hands and good feet.
Tell us a little bit about Virginia Tech transfer Rodney Rice and Malachi Palmer, who's coming in, former Mount Zion prep player.
Rodney he was at Virginia Tech and he took a year off. I'm not sure why, but he's a big, strong guy. He's going to play off the ball. He's not a point guard. He's not a combo guard. What he is a two guard and a point guard in a pinch. But he's certainly going to help Maryland now. He's been out of basketball for a year, so he's got to get back into playing. and the Big Ten, he's got to get. He's almost like a high school player in the sense that he's got to develop his skills and be ready for the Big Ten. Because it's not an easy conference to come in and say, all right, I took a year off and now I'm going to play. but Rodney's a good addition. Malachi Palmer is another guy similar to Derek, not overly athletic, but knows how to play, knows how to make a pass, is a good shooter, big and strong, about 6'3" or 6'4", and another guy that, because they seem they're always short on point guards, he's another guy that can play either position as well. Now, Ja'Kobi, I tried to do some research on him, and everything I found out, he is Big Ten ready. I mean, he was the best player in his conference. Belmont is a good program, and all the things I've heard is, again, he knows how to play and will help them fill the role of Jameer. Yeah, because that's the big shoes to fill. I don't know. I'm not saying he's going to be him, but I think they've solved their problem for now at point guard. I think they have Gillespie, Palmer, and I think Rodney in a pinch can play on the ball. So now instead of having one guy and Jashawn Harris-Smith, I think that experiment about him being on the ball is not going to work out. And I think Deshaun Harris should do what a guy by the name of Devin Booker did when Devin Booker came out of college, couldn't shoot, shot 500 shots a day. And you see him play on television. Deshaun has to do that. He has got to get a jump shot.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be, but he's a big, strong guy, go to the basket. But it's going to be more difficult to defend him, just like anybody else.
Hey, Tom, before we let you go, if I could go back to Queen for a second, because when I talked to him a couple weeks ago, everything about him, he's a post player, right? But he suggested that he knows the path to the NBA anymore. He's going to have to stretch out a little bit more and knock down some shots. And what you've seen from him in the mid-range, do you believe his game can develop to a place where, not saying he's knocking down threes, but he could stretch out to 16, 17 feet and have more of a weapon as far as being a shooter is concerned?
No question. And what I don't want these kids to do, and I talk to them about, I remember talking to Donovan Clingan when he was a sophomore. He was shooting threes. I said, I took the ball out of his hands. I said, go and get a rebound.
Yeah.
And I don't want Derek Queen is a 17 feet and in. Now, will his body allow him to guard in space and be able to match up with NBA players? I think it's possible, but what I want him to be is a good college player first. Play at Maryland for as long as it takes for him to be NBA ready. But no, listen, this day and age, these hybrid centers, like a kid like Derek Lively. I watched Derek Lively in high school. Now, Derek Lively is a rim runner, rim protector, and I'm not saying Derek is necessarily that, but he's a lot of things. But yeah, I think that over the course he should develop a 3-point shot and keep the defense honest. Yeah, draw him away from the basket, right? Because if he misses it, he's not going to. His big man, his guard, the guy's guarding him is outside. Now on the defensive end, because he's maybe a half a step slow, it's so much about the pick and roll. Once the guy sets a pick and runs to the basket, Derek's got to be able to catch him and make sure and defend him and make sure he doesn't get this receiving pass from the guy he just picked for. So that's one of the things he has to work on a little bit defensively. But again, not to beat it to death, but the 3-point repertoire, it should be in his part of his game.
Tom Strickler, really appreciate you spending a couple of minutes with us today to help us get to know these guys a little bit better. Of course, the Steve Keller National Recruiting Report. Look forward to doing this again. Thanks for taking the time for us.
Anytime, guys.
Tom
Thanks,
Strickler
Tommy.
with us here on GCR. All right, we got to get one more break in, then we'll come back in and we'll get a tidbit and tubular to wind. You got to duck out?
I got a doctor's appointment.
Okay. Stan the Fan is just headed out for us. Of course, back in action Monday with Ross and
Monday
Luke.
with Ross and Luke, probably like 3:30ish
Okay.
now that these Oriole games are starting.
6:30,
at 6:30,
yeah.
So, and then Eric and I next Thursday, and I'll be in with you next
Sounds great. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. Stan the Fan hanging out with us for a Friday edition of the program.
No, this week in the rest of baseball, I guess.
Oh, right. That is. All right, we can do that. We can squeeze it. Did you do it? Is it prepared?
Yeah, I have some.
All right, we'll do it anyway.
Okay.
We'll do it
All right,
anyway.
we'll
We'll
do
do this week in the rest of baseball, tidbit and tubular. We come back in. Glenn Clark Radio.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
What company makes your home more energy efficient, purifies your air, kills all viruses, and qualifies you for $6,000 in rebates? A.J. Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis at ajmichaels.com.
Whether you're celebrating a special milestone, entertaining clients, or simply enjoying a night out, count on Ruth's Chris to deliver you the finest steaks, the best service, and a level of hospitality that has made Ruth's Chris one of the most revered names in steaks since 1965. Make your reservation now at ruthschris.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan-favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now, and on the cover we look at the promise of spring for the Baltimore Orioles as Todd Karpovich and others shine the light on the team's hopes to take the next step towards championship contention and what reinforcements could still be coming. Plus, PressBox personalities offer suggestions to David Rubenstein about stewarding the franchise. Also inside, Bo Smolka on how the Ravens defense could evolve with new coordinator Zach Orr. And we meet lacrosse players from the men's and women's programs across the state. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Jeremy Kahn here. The ultimate sports betting experience in Maryland is at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook. Join me at either location in Canton or in Towson and place your bets in person and be a part of the action. It's the best in-class sports wagering experience, complete with the ultimate TV package, ensuring you can catch every game all day, every day. Their state-of-the-art facilities bring Las Vegas energy right here to Maryland just in time for postseason football. So visit the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton and Towson and elevate your game day experience and hang out with me to bet, watch, and win at the Turtle.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy. when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR, and yeah, I apologize. We could have squeezed that. It's what it is. It's part on me. It's part on Griffin. It's the way it goes. But sure, let's do it. Go ahead.
This week,
in the rest of
baseball.
I tasked Griffin with preparing this now moving forward. Just get us caught up on some things that maybe we're not paying attention to because we are so laser focused on the Orioles. So, Griffin, what you got from this week?
I'll try to go in order, I guess. So on Monday night, the Padres were trailing the Cubs 8-0.
Yeah, we talked about this one.
Yes, yeah. And we did. Why do I not remember?
Yeah.
I don't know. But
I
yes,
literally
they did
said to
come
you.
back.
I literally said to you, did the Cubs really come back or really blow an 8-0 lead last night?
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
You're right. That
And
was
you
coverage.
did not.
That was coverage.
You did not know. So
Oh.
I was scooping you at that point.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I wanted to mention it again, but yes, that was crazy on Tuesday.
And who hit the home run?
What?
Was it Tatis? It was Tatis, right? Hit the home run to put. No, but he hit the home run to put him in front.
Put him in front. Yes.
Thought you were the This Week in Rest of Baseball guy. What happened to that?
You're right. Well, this was all the way on Monday.
Lock it up. Well, it was in
more
a
to get
story in This Week in the Rest of Baseball.
Yeah.
So I feel like it should have been.
You're right. It's only. Shea
Go ahead.
Langoliers had a 3-home-run game on Tuesday night as the Oakland A's came back to beat the Rangers. They were, in fact, all 3 home runs he hit were to take the lead or to tie or take the lead.
A's ended up winning the series against the Rangers.
They did.
Right?
Yeah, they won 1-0 last night. I think. So what? Texas won Wednesday, I believe.
Baseball's a weird sport, man.
It is. It is.
Things happen.
He was the first catcher in Oakland A's history. Of course, I guess they won't be Oakland very much longer, but the Oakland
Did
A's
you
history.
hear what Kevin Brown said? I had not heard this. Apparently, while they see a stand, when they play in Sacramento, they will officially just be the Athletics, not the Oakland Athletics, not the Las
California,
Vegas
yeah.
Athletics, not the Sacramento Athletics, not the California Athletics, not the Gold Coast Athletics. They will officially just be known as the Athletics, which I feel like baseball's got to do something. Like when you look at the standings, it's always listed by
Oakland, Baltimore,
city.
Boston.
You know, like we've always done this alphabetically over the years. Now I get it that in their world they can just say, well, instead it'll say Athletics. Like, no, man, what are we doing here? Just call them. Go ahead and change the name to the Las Vegas Athletics. But then
It's gonna be it's OAK right now, like the 3 letters.
So it'd be ATH.
Ugh.
I hate this.
Or it'll be like A''S, like when
I don't know what they're gonna do with that. I hate it. Like, that's not the way baseball. We don't do that in baseball.
He became the he was actually the second. The first Oakland A because the only other A to do it was a Philadelphia A. Mickey Cochran, who did it against the St. Louis Browns. In fact, so
how about that?
Would have technically been
became
the Orioles.
yes.
There has been one Orioles catcher to hit 3 home runs in a game.
Chris Hoyles.
No.
Rick Dempsey.
No.
Gus Triandos.
No.
Matt Wieters.
You're gonna kick yourself one. It wasn't Matt Wieters.
Adley Rutschman.
No,
right.
it wasn't Adley.
No, I don't know. Who is it?
It was
Charles
kind
Johnson.
of recently. For some reason, we mentioned his name in like
Ramon
the
Hernandez.
first, like 10, 15 minutes of the show. I think
we did.
Yeah, we did. We definitely mentioned his name because I had this little tidbit prepared, and I was like, oh wow, Stan just threw his name out there. Orioles catcher. He did this in 2019. Well, that gives it away. 2019. He hit 3 home runs in 12-11 Orioles win over the Rangers as well. Actually,
I don't remember this at all.
Part
of this,
I
got to be honest.
The game kind of like I'll tell you more about the game, but like the Orioles were leading this game 12-5 entering the bottom.
So
of the
the answer is Severino, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Pedro Severino hit 3 home runs. As the Orioles beat
I don't
June 4th,
I don't remember this
2019.
even a little bit. Now, I got to be honest with you. At that point, I was not, and I've said this openly. Once the Orioles got into the rebuild portion, I said, I'm on board with it. I'm all good with it, but I am not going to choose to spend 3 hours a night watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I said that this is not a protest. This is not it's just there are other things that I can do that are better ways to spend my time than watching a bad baseball team. Like, and guys that aren't really Orioles. And this is the thing I always say. Like, they're not really Orioles. They're guys that are here putting the jersey on until
Mercenaries, is that what we?
It's not even because mercenaries are brought in to do
a little bit of good.
Yeah, right. Like these are
Tony
guys.
Kemp, is he?
Not even really a mercenary. Like a mercenary is Nelson Cruz. Nelson Cruz is a mercenary, but a beloved Oriole for his 1 year. Corbin Burns, you would argue, is a mercenary, right? These weren't even that. Somebody had to go out and put a jersey on, so you go out and put a jersey on. And I get it. On some of those teams, there were still some. Trey Mancini, God bless you, will be a beloved player for a long time, but not for me to spend 3 hours a night watching the baseball team.
There were 2 other Orioles that hit home runs in this game.
Oh, God. Mancini?
No. They were very much, they go into that category of, whatever Pedro Severino was in these 2019.
Dwight Smith Jr.
He, in fact, hit a home run in this Orioles 12-11 win. So the O's led 12-5 entering the bottom of the ninth. Josh Lucas. You don't remember
I don't really remember Josh Lucas.
Josh Lucas and Richard Blyer came in and tried their best to
blow. I do remember Richard Blyer.
They tried their very best to blow this lead before Michael Givens came in and got the save to get the final out of the bottom of the ninth, as Dylan Bundy got the win that night.
How about that?
The other Oriole to hit a home run in this game.
Rio Ruiz.
Not Rio Ruiz.
Renato Nunez.
Not Renato. I feel like you're never going to get him.
Hanser Alberto.
No. You just want to keep naming as many of the guys as you can before I give it to you.
Richie Martin.
No.
Stevie Wilkerson.
No. Was an outfielder. Keon Broxton.
Don't remember that at all.
Keon Broxton.
I vaguely remember him existing, but vaguely.
Yeah, I think I kind of confused him with Byron Buxton at times.
Yeah, I definitely did.
Yeah, we definitely don't have Byron Buxton.
I don't think I do that. I don't think I confused him with Byron Buxton.
But yeah, Shea Langeliers hit 3 home runs as the A's beat the Rangers on Tuesday night. Tyler Glasnow Tuesday night also had 14 strikeouts for the Dodgers in their win over the Twins. He became the first pitcher to have a 14 strikeout game in the pitch tracking era with under 90 pitches. So since 1988 was when they first started tracking pitches. And he's the first pitcher to ever have 14 strikeouts.
John from Little Rock said that the Athletics can be it's like Atletico Madrid, right? Like Atletico BC baseball club, like
Atletico BC, Athletics BC.
Sorry, what are we doing?
ABC, yeah. So that'll be their little title. Also on Tuesday, the Nationals. Who stole the 3 bases? The Nationals have had 3 players now steal 3 bases in a game. No, 4 players. 4 players after Tuesday steal 3 bases in a game. The rest of baseball has had only 3 players across all of baseball steal 3 bases in a game so far.
4 players stole 3 bases
for the Nationals already. The rest of baseball only has 3. Can you name any of the Nationals players that have stolen 3?
Everybody's hot and bothered about Holcomb.
No, it wasn't. No, not Holcomb. Are you thinking? I'm trying to think if you're confusing his name with this other guy.
Am I? I thought there was a guy named Holcomb.
Like they just called up.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. I think his name ends in C-O-M-B.
Oh,
yes.
Is it Lipscomb? Is that what it is?
Trey
and I
Lipscomb.
said it was Holcomb. Yeah. I don't know why I was doing that.
Trey Lipscomb is one of them. Part of the Juan Soto trade is another one.
C.J. Abrams
on I think it was like opening day, or it was opening weekend. It was like Saturday or something.
I'm guessing it's not Joey Gallo.
Not Joey Gallo. Yeah, how many Nationals players can you name at this point?
Lane Thomas.
Lane Thomas is one of them, and then the fellow that do it on Tuesday night, be the 4th National. I don't think you're gonna get him. His name is Jacob Young.
I don't know who that is.
I have no idea. 3 other players across baseball have stolen 3 bases.
We're not going to do this.
All right,
we're not doing that.
Bryce Terang, we'll see him tonight or this weekend at some point. Jaron Duran and
Jaron Duran.
That's right, Duran. Yeah, you're
what
right.
You just saw
I think
him.
of Jalen Duran.
Maybe, but you just saw him play.
And Ronald Acuna, of course, as well. Yeah, and we didn't have a chance to dive into it because I wanted to bring it up.
By the way,
Jackson Holliday.
We didn't really talk about it because, like they won. But what is with the Orioles being completely unwilling to try to steal a base last night?
Oh, yeah, that too.
My
I was
God.
going to say, I mean, when do we get concerned about the fact that they don't do anything in the first 5 innings?
Well, yeah, I mean, then they do everything. As long as they keep doing everything afterwards, we're good, right? But
6 comeback wins.
Their utter unwillingness to send Cedric Mullins when the Red Sox can't keep a runner on base, it's just weird. It's a very weird bit. Like, I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah.
Also, we got some more Massenat problems.
Oh, yes.
Gotta get them.
You have.
Yeah. I had to spend my night watching it on the other laptop. Like, not okay. I was about to use the F word.
You should.
Effing fix it. Fix it. I understand there might be other priorities with no new ownership taking over.
I like this music in the background.
Fix it. I'm so wanting to use the F word when I say this. This should be at the top of the list. It's got to get fixed. Stop making it more difficult for people to watch the games that we pay for. Stop it. Fix it. Come up with a new solution if it can't be fixed. Make it I get it. We all want the players re-signed. There's all things that we want. The app has got to be fixed. It ain't just me. Everyone. Go search Masson app on Twitter when you get the chance. See how people feel about it. Fix it. Thank you.
Okay.
We don't need to talk about. We talk about Jackson Holliday all week. Why?
Yeah.
It's the rest of baseball.
Stan, I wanted to talk about the number 7 thing with Stan, and that was why I had it on the list. And then Ohtani now has 12 extra base hits, which is the most by a Dodgers player in his first 15 games with the Dodgers. And the reason I wanted to bring that up was just to kind of transition into the fact that as more information about Ippei Mizuhara comes out as the federal investigation.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to jail. Like, he's going to jail.
Yeah, and it's just.
But like, it is not. There is not more damning information for Shohei Ohtani, which is the good news for baseball. Now, somebody might say, which is what they want it to be, right? Like that that's really all that matters. As long as the news keeps coming out, whether it's real or not, I don't care. As long as there's nothing that is good news for baseball, because it would be really problematic for baseball if the news was something else. But
yeah. But yeah, I guess it appears Mizuhara was a very bad gambling addict.
Yeah, he's going to jail.
Fortunate, I guess, that he had somehow enough composure to not ever place a baseball wager. So that seems to make this, a better story.
Look, I know the thing. By the way, the people last night are like, a lot of you owe apologies to Shohei Ohtani. Whoa, Chief. If somebody came out and suggested they knew something, that if somebody said Shohei Ohtani is definitely betting on then that person's – you're talking to the wrong people. That person's reckless. That you can just know to ignore that person. Anybody who just says something that they have no idea, that just for the sake of saying it, just ignore them. They offer nothing to society. They're just babbling for the sake of babbling. That's on you for listening, honestly. The opinion that some people had that, boy, I got some questions. Yes, this information does still continue to make it look like Shohei Ohtani was not involved, but there's still every room for people to say, yeah, but I still don't fully understand this. It looks more and more like Shohei Ohtani will be unscathed as far as will something come out. But like the part where, somehow he didn't bet on baseball, right? There are people that are going to naturally wonder if baseball doesn't want anyone to know that and got involved. These things will always be asked. As long as they're not presented factually, as long as nobody's saying that, this is a lie, you don't know anything. But the people that are always going to have that sort of squinty-eyed wonder, like, really? That's going to exist, man. That's the way it's going to go.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That is it.
You didn't bring up the Royals at all?
The Royals have been very good.
Kind of a big week for the Royals,
dog. They completely
dog.
shelled Hunter Brown yesterday.
Yeah.
Which is bad news for my fantasy team.
Nobody cares about that, but
I care.
I mean, I think in Kansas City,
the rest of my league cares too. They're pretty happy.
I bet they are. The Royals are probably the biggest story in baseball this week.
Yes. So the Royals, legit. I mean, they are Michael Garcia, Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino.
You looked at their roster and you sort of said they've got something going on there. There's something happening. But, I'm still not ready to crown them. I get the division stinks, so the other part of it is like, well, it doesn't take much. You could end up winning that division, and that's true. But I'm not. We're still very, very early in the season, and I'm not willing to say that we've learned anything definitively yet. But the Royals made some shrewd moves to acquire some pitching help, both in the rotation and in the bullpen, and combine that with some young talent. And you sort of looked at them and said, they're intriguing. Like they are an intriguing team. That being said, I definitely suggested that you bet the under 72.5 wins because I thought it was crazy that their win total projection went up by 16.5. So I am sweating that.
It seems like a good thing the Orioles took 2 or 3 from them.
Sweating it. But yeah, big week for Kansas City. All right, that was this week in the rest of baseball. Let's fly through it. Tidbit. I feel like we just did half a tidbit.
Yeah,
there.
I know. Well, I have a good one. So.
Damn it. All
I know,
right,
I'm
fine.
sorry.
Tidbit brought to you by Atman's Deli in Harbor Point. Everything you love about the original Atman's, and now they have a full bar as well. Find the daily specials right now at atmansdeli.com.
All right, so Jake Rill started things. First Oriole, Colton Cowser, 10 RBIs in this road series at Fenway.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, first Oriole with 10 RBIs as a road player at Fenway Park. He also becomes only the 4th player in the last 30 years to have 10 RBIs in a 3-game series at Fenway Park. So I was going to ask you that one, but let's do this one instead. 7th, he also became, yesterday, the 7th Oriole to have 2 home runs, his first 2 career home runs in the same game.
The 7th Oriole to have his first 2 career home runs in the same game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Manny Machado is one of them.
Manny Machado is, in fact, one of them.
I don't know that I can remember or name another, and I think everything else would just be guessing any Oriole of all time.
I guess so, yes.
They don't have to be the first.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be his first career game.
Right, just the first
game
2.
that he hit a home run. And
he hit multiple home runs. Trey Mancini.
Not Trey.
Okay, this is going to get ugly.
One of them did it in 2020. Called up, or I guess he was called up in 2020 and
sure.
August 30th, 2020.
Definitely something that Austin Hayes.
Not Austin Hayes. When did Austin Hayes make his debut?
I don't remember.
I know, I don't remember.
You're asking me to remember bad.
Right.
I just told you I did not watch those. Mountcastle?
Ryan Mountcastle.
Okay.
Both his home runs came in the first career game. So you have the 3 most modern ones.
Great.
Wow, 2010? That was one?
Eddie Murray.
Not Eddie Murray.
Brooks Robinson.
There was one in 2010.
2010.
August of 2010.
Another bad Orioles team.
Yeah.
Nothing like asking me things about bad Orioles teams. That's not Adam Jones. That's after Adam Jones. It's after Nick Markakis. 2010 Orioles would be...
Yeah, you might not get this one.
Wieters?
It was not Wieters. He was a...
Was Wieters 10 or 9?
He was technically a third baseman. It was, was Wieters 09? 09 sounds right.
Technically a third baseman.
He was traded to the Orioles in 2009.
Traded to the Orioles in 2009.
Along with Steve Johnson.
Oh, that was Josh Bell. But not the current Josh Bell, the other Josh
Bell.
Yeah, I would not have gotten that in a million years had you not told me that it was.
Both of his first 2 home runs came in August of 2010 on the same day.
Sure.
The other ones are from 73. I don't think you're going to get this one. 1973, 65, and 62. Those ones.
Just tell me.
All right.
It's
73 was Jim Fuller.
Ah, yes.
And then in 65, Kurt Blefary.
All right, maybe.
Boog Powell in 1962.
Right. Maybe.
It's a solid list for Colton Cowser to jump.
There was another, and Alan suggested that I use this for trivia today, but I could never find the answer. Sarah Langs tweeted out, Colton Cowser had 10 RBI in this series. Only 6 players in Orioles-Browns history have had more in a 3-game series. And I was like, wow, that is fascinating. She doesn't tell you who they are, and I couldn't easily find it on.
Just start commenting. Who?
Yeah,
who?
right. And so Alan tweeted me last night, said this would be a great trivia question for tomorrow. And Alan, you're right, it would have been, but I couldn't find the answer.
So good, in fact.
So
and no one knows.
I would love to know, but I couldn't find the answers, unfortunately, so I wasn't able to do it. All right, Tubular is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com, proud sponsors of County Sports Zone, countysports.zone. It's where you find all of the scores, schedules, rankings, play pick'em, get all the updates when it comes to local high school sports. Countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. All right, today, again, the Masters are underway. I guess we should update. I saw Max Homa was...
Yeah, apparently he's having a good... today, he's 2 under today. He's tied right now with DeChambeau at 7 under after through 6 holes today.
So Nick Kelly has Max Homa in our Masters pool. So.
Scotty's looking good.
Yeah, had a great first round, obviously.
Who has DeChambeau?
DeChambeau was... I pulled that up yesterday. Damn it. Where is my...
then I'll ask you who my golfers are again, and then while you have it up.
You have Tiger. I do remember.
I know. I have Tiger. I have Scotty.
Ryan Frazier has Bryson DeChambeau. You have Scotty, Tiger, and Denny McCarthy, and Jasper Stubbs rounds out.
Who are PFF Sean's again?
Damn it, Griffin.
Did you click out of it? Did you already click out of it?
Yes, I'm trying to end the show. I got an adult social to get to today. It's very important to me.
His name Jasper Stubbs?
Yes. Sean has Danny Willett.
That's right. He's doing good.
Chris Kirk, Sungjae Im, and Rory.
Okay, perfect.
Something Nikolai Hojgaard is 3 strokes back, and I'm not even sure we gave him away. Could be all the money going to the charity, man. It could work out that way. Hang on. Let me see. Nikolai Hojgaard.
Jasper Stubbs.
No. Ryan Morrison has Nikolai Hojgaard.
Jasper Stubbs was +8
well,
yesterday.
That's a bummer. I don't think he's going to win you $200. I don't think that's going to be the case. All right. Yes, the Masters, 3 o'clock on ESPN. I did watch some of the. I did not watch the Masters. It didn't happen. But on Twitter, I saw some of the tributes to Vern Lundquist.
I saw Tiger's first drive, and yeah.
Okay.
You can swing a golf club all right.
Sure. I enjoyed the tributes to Vern Lundquist. That is the extent of what I'm going to be able to offer about Masters conversation. And because I didn't get a golfer, I don't care. Sure don't.
I'm rooting hard for the guy Drew liked, Oberg. Yes.
Sure.
And then, wow, I already forget who my other guy that I picked to finish top 20.
Sure.
Excited for him, though.
Brewers-Orioles tonight at 7 on Apple TV+. Freddie Peralta and Tyler Wells. Tomorrow at 4 o'clock on Masson, DL Hall and Dean Kramer. Sunday, 1:30 on Masson, Colin Rea. Is it Rea or Ray? R-E-A. I don't know. Rhea Ripley?
I want to say Ray.
Might be Colin Rhea Ripley.
Did he pitch again? He pitched again this last year.
If you say so.
Maybe.
He's taking on Corbin Burns as Corbin takes on his former team. Maryland baseball this weekend at Northwestern. Today at 4 on Big Ten Network Plus. All on Big Ten Network Plus. Tomorrow at 2 and Sunday at 2. Tomorrow, some highlights. Rutgers, Maryland lacrosse, 7 o'clock on Big Ten Network. Navy Army lacrosse at 1. That's a big one on CBS Sports Network tomorrow at 1. Mount St. Mary's lacrosse hosts Sacred Heart at noon. Loyola's at Holy Cross at 1. UMBC's at Binghamton at 2. All those on ESPN+. Towson's at Hampton at noon on Flow Sports. The Maryland women's lacrosse team hosts Penn State at noon on Big Ten Network+. Stevenson hosts Alvernia tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. UFC 300 tomorrow night. We talked about it plenty. On Sunday, Johns Hopkins, Ohio State lacrosse, 7 o'clock on Big Ten Network. Everything else, GlennClarkRadio.com. You can find
Burying the lead a little bit. It is Dodgeball National Finals. It's Dodgeball Nationals this weekend. College Dodgeball Nationals this weekend. So, yeah, it's going to be a great day. Games go up until about 5:30 tomorrow, and then you just
it's
turn on UFC
12:34.
300.
We gotta go.
I'm looking for Michigan State, Ohio. Should be a good one at 3 o'clock. Check that one out.
Great. Come on.
There really isn't much. Ryan Gosling's hosting SNL.
That's true.
With Chris Stapleton as the
What's
guest.
what's HBO putting curbs? Because normally they go from the end of one show to like the return of another show that you're like, oh right, I'm glad that's back.
HBO is The Sympathizer will be the series premiere of The Sympathizer.
What is
this?
that?
Is the I already forget what it was about. I've seen a bunch of previews for it. It's about the Vietnam War.
Oh, the Robert Downey Jr. thing.
Yeah, is
that looks really good.
Yeah.
It looks really. It's obviously a very different type of show, but it looks like the type of thing that I might be intrigued to watch.
Yes, yeah, the RDJ show. Yeah, so it looks intriguing. Yes, that starts at 9.
Fortunately, they didn't bring back Winning Time, so there won't be a new season of that this summer. But I assume there'll be a Righteous Gemstones at some point.
We can assume, sure.
I would like to hope.
And then Franklin on Apple. So while everyone's signing up for Apple TV Plus, you'll probably see some commercials for Franklin.
What is that?
It is about Ben Franklin. Michael Douglas plays Ben Franklin.
Okay.
And it's just, it almost looks like Ben Franklin fanfic, essentially.
That's very
weird. He's like, it's 1776, and he's like going to France in secret to like help save America. It's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's for you, go check it out. Michael Douglas.
A couple people have pointed out for me, yes, apparently the Orioles are adding they're getting into the foot-long hot dog wars that everybody in baseball is having this season, like the pierogi thing they did in the pierogi and pickle one they did in Pittsburgh. The Orioles one, that felt like it was related to Pittsburgh. Like I think the pierogies are a thing in Pittsburgh. This is not. This is just
who posted it? What is?
It's all the Major League Baseball account. It's called the Warehouse Dog. 12-inch hot dog with horseradish-infused brick sauce, pit beef queso pit beef, I guess that's local. Never mind. Pit beef queso fundido, pickled pico, and onions on a pretzel bun. The problem is I would say we should do this as a bet, but you would probably just say, I'll go eat one of those anyway.
I know, I'm going tonight. I think
Well, I would like it if you took some video.
If I get, where is this going to be? I mean, this has got to be what, $25 too? Like,
probably. It's a foot. I mean, it's a foot-long hot dog.
I usually like getting Jimmy's at the games.
I mean, for God's sakes, I think you could survive if you got the foot-long pit beef hot dog for one night instead. Go take some video, enjoy it, and report back to us. Bring one home. I'll pay you back.
Can I get it a to-go box, please?
Yeah, they're like, what? Like, no, we don't understand.
Where do we go for this? I don't
know. You can find it, I'm sure. Put the modicum of effort into it.
All right, fine.
Thanks today to everything else is at GlennClarkRadio.com. Thanks today.
I would expect them to be wearing these today because the logo, like the profile picture, is all the City Connect stuff.
So
it
presumes that they're bringing back City Connect. All right, very good. Thanks to Stan the Fan. Thanks to Vinny Rottino. Thanks to Ja'Kobi Gillespie. Thanks to Ryan Spilborghs and to Tom Strickler. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God, it's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. We'll be back on Monday. Stuff and things. Read and I together Sunday, 12 to 3. Don't forget the Bat Around tomorrow morning at 10 with Paul and Ryan. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Ruth's Chris, Live Casino and Hotel, Atman's Deli, A.J. Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Costas Inn, Hartford Community College, Glory Days Grill, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin, at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great weekend. Go Birds. Go local lacrosse teams. Duke sucks.